Chapter 1081. Facing Ling Xiao. Facing a warrior whose cultivation was much lower than his. Feng Zhan was really scared. He kept retreating. If Timur Mudu was not fighting fiercely in the distance, he would have chosen to run away. Boom! At this moment, there was a sudden clap of thunder in the distance. Immediately after, a mountain was reduced to dust. The entire palace began to shake. After a while, Timur Mutu, who was covered in blood, appeared. He was holding a corpse in his hand. Scorpion King. Scorpion King was killed. In the end, Timur Mutu won this battle. Ling Xiao, we meet again. This time, I won't let you escape from me, no matter what. Timur Mutu's body floated in the air. He looked at Ling Xiao coldly, and then threw Scorpion King's corpse on the ground. Seeing that corpse, all the Scorpion men lost their fighting spirit. Even Xie Li was completely paralyzed on the ground. There was no hope. There was no hope at all. Scorpion King was dead. The Scorpion Men tribe had no power to fight back. Even if Ling Xiao could kill Feng Zhan, it would be useless. He had no chance of winning against the powerful Timur Mutu. At the scene, only Ling Xiao remained calm. He was indeed not Muta's match, but he was fearless. A swordsman must have the sword courage and an unyielding heart. No matter whether he could win or not, his heart could not be disturbed or panicked. Strange inscriptions flashed in his eyes. He seemed to be analyzing Timur Muta's situation. Ling Xiao was sure that even if Timur Mutu killed Scorpion King, he would not be able to escape unscathed. He had never seen Scorpion King before, but according to the situation of the battle just now, there was not much difference in their strength. Even if Timur Mutu killed Scorpion King, he would be seriously injured. So what if his cultivation was high? If he was seriously injured, Timur Muta's combat strength might not be stronger than Feng Zhan's. Of course, this was only his speculation. He needed the mountain river martial spirit to analyze whether it was true. Fortunately, he still had the power of a sovereign personage and the butterfly lady. If it really didn't work, he could only use the strength of a human king and the butterfly lady. Even if he couldn't kill Mutu, he had to scare him away again. Ling Xiao's guess was correct. In fact, he had underestimated himself. Originally, if Timur Mutu had fought steadily, it would have only been a matter of time before he defeated the Scorpion King. After all, the Scorpion King was already injured. As time passed, his combat power would only become weaker and weaker. But Mutu didn't have time. If he continued to dawdle like this, his people would all be killed by Ling Xiao. He hadn't expected that even Feng Zhan wouldn't be able to defeat Ling Xiao, but that was the truth. Therefore, in a short period of time, he risked his injuries and erupted with all his strength to forcefully kill the Scorpion King. However, at the same time, he was also heavily injured. The martial artists present all understood in their hearts that Mutu had appeared in order to kill Ling Xiao. If he hadn't come, this war might have been reversed. A 16-year-old boy had appeared in the Scorpion Men tribe alone and turned the situation around. Countless experts had been defeated by him. Even Feng Zhan, a half-step Yin-Yang realm expert, was so frightened that he kept retreating. No wonder Xie Li treated this person as his master. The Scorpion Men didn't understand at first, but now they completely understood. They even felt that Xie Li becoming Ling Xiao's servant was a kind of luck and honor. It was as lucky as the comrade-in-arms of the human king in the primordial age. Grand Tutor! Feng Zhan looked at Mutu awkwardly. He had lost all his face today. Not only did he fail to clear the obstacles for Timur Mutu, but he also forced Timur Mutu to risk his injuries to come to his aid. It was really too embarrassing. However, with Grand Tutor Muta's appearance, Ling Xiao would definitely die. Feng Zhan's resentment had dissipated. This could be considered a kind of gain. Trash! Mutu slapped Feng Zhan across the air and scolded. You can't even deal with a mere celestial realm martial artist. Are you worthy of calling yourself the most valiant general under the little prince? Previously, When you saw the little prince being captured alive by this kid, I gave you a chance to redeem yourself. But now look what you've done. I'm guilty. I deserve to die." Feng Zhan hurriedly knelt on the ground. He felt wronged and depressed. Ever since he met Ling Xiao, he was simply unlucky. "You deserve to die, but the one who deserves to die more than you is him." Naturally, Timur Mudu wouldn't kill Feng Zhan. After all, Feng Zhan was a major force under his command. If he killed Feng Zhan now, he would be a fool. He looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said, "Good kid, when we were in the northern desert city, you made me suffer a great loss. Your wisdom is unparalleled, and I admire you. After that, you captured the little prince alive, which made me look at you in a new light. Today, even Feng Zhan is so scared that he doesn't dare to fight with you. I'm starting to like you. How about it? I'll give you a chance. Join the Black Crow Empire, and you can immediately take over Feng Zhan's position. You'll also enjoy endless glory and wealth." "Old thing, when did you learn Libi's trick? Are you trying to scare me? Or are you saying that you're already weak and are just a paper tiger?" Ling Xiao suddenly grinned and looked at Timur Mudu as he spoke. Hearing this, everyone trembled in fear. Was Ling Xiao's courage really made of iron? He actually dared to say such words in front of Timur Mudu. Did he want to die? Humph, this old man is indeed injured and seriously injured, but killing a celestial realm martial artist like you is still a piece of cake. 8 Desolation Heaven. Isn't he a 7 stars heaven warrior? Xia Li was stunned for a moment. Only then did he realize that Ling Xiao had released the aura of an 8 Desolation heaven warrior. Ling Xiao's breakthrough actually happened just now. It was at the moment when he suddenly comprehended the ability to control heaven and earth. His cultivation had directly advanced from the early stage of 7 stars heaven to the early stage of 8 Desolation heaven, producing a sudden leap. It was just that Ling Xiao was not familiar with the power of 8 Desolation heaven, so he didn't use it. Otherwise, it would have been easier for him to kill Libi. "Old thing, as you said before, no matter how sharp your mouth is, it can only talk. It can't kill people. If you want to kill me, then do it. I'd like to see if you, old dog, are still lingering at death's door." Ling Xiao's voice was somewhat casual and even sarcastic. The analysis of the mountain and river martial soul told him that Timur Mudu was indeed injured, and his injury was very serious. The strength that he could exert now was at most at the first level of Yin Yang realm. With this strength, the butterfly lady and the human king's strength could definitely put up a fight. Therefore, he was not afraid. "He's crazy." "He's not crazy, he's confident." "Yes, didn't you notice that every time this kid said something, he used his actions to prove it? He's not the kind of guy who doesn't have hair on his mouth." The Scorpion Men tribe's hearts, which had sunk to the bottom, suddenly rose again. Perhaps there was really hope. Chapter 1082. The Scorpion Men warriors finally realized something. Ling Xiao was right. It was impossible for Timur Mudu to not be injured after killing the Scorpion King. Even if their king died, it would leave an indelible wound on his opponent's body. "Kid, you really don't know what's good for you. Even though I'm heavily injured, I'm still a Yin Yang realm warrior. A small fry like you can't understand the difference between the Yin Yang realm and the heaven realm." Timur Mudu had lost face. He couldn't convince Ling Xiao, so he could only attack. In fact, he was very unwilling to attack. What he needed the most now was to heal. The more serious his injuries were, the more dangerous and weak he would be. However, he couldn't back down now. He had no choice but to attack. Timur Mudu raised his hand and a powerful storm filled the entire hall. The storm turned into a sharp blade and slashed towards Ling Xiao. This was a genuine attack, not a battle intent, nor something flashy and impractical. Ling Xiao didn't know anything about Yin Yang realm warriors. He had only heard the Moon Maiden say that warriors of this realm could reverse Yin and Yang and turn a deer into a horse. They were very difficult to deal with. Moreover, Heaven Realm and Grotto Heaven realm martial artists all controlled heaven essence energy. However, Yin-Yang realm warriors controlled a higher level of energy called Yin-Yang Yuan Qi. Ling Xiao didn't know how powerful Yin-Yang Yuan Qi was, but he knew that Yin-Yang Yuan Qi was definitely stronger than heavenly origin energy. Are you afraid? The Yin-Yang Yuan Qi of the Yin-Yang realm is close to the embryonic form of immortal Qi. In comparison, the heavenly origin energy you possess is just a crude and lowly energy. It's like a candle flame that can never compete with the sun. Old dog, when did you become so talkative? Since you want to attack, hurry up. Could it be that I'm right? You're actually afraid of me, a mere heaven realm warrior? Ling Xiao held 2 swords in his hands, but his mind sank into the mountain river martial soul and released the power of a human king. Although the power of a human king was limited, only 9 cauldrons. However, this kind of thing couldn't be stingy when it was time to use it. Otherwise, it would be too late to think of using it after death. Moreover, this time, he didn't use his monarch power on himself, but on the butterfly lady. When the power of the human monarch fused with the butterfly lady, when Ling Xiao completely entered the state of being able to control the world, something strange happened. How can I use the butterfly lady's power? Ling Xiao was a little shocked. Although he had used the Book of Seals in the past to fuse the demon fox's power with himself, it was still not enough. However, it was completely different this time. The butterfly lady wasn't his martial soul, nor was it a monster from the Book of Seals. Instead, he was a living being that existed freely. He could actually use the butterfly lady's power. More importantly, his consciousness was very clear. It was obvious that he wasn't being controlled. Was this what the realm of consciousness that controlled heaven and earth could do? It was too miraculous. In fact, Ling Xiao's thinking was a little too simple. The most important reason was, of course, the most important reason. However, if there weren't other factors, this kind of special situation wouldn't have happened. For example, the power of the human monarch, the close relationship between him and the butterfly lady, and the fact that the butterfly lady was currently in his mountain river martial soul. The special situation this time was the result of a combination of various coincidental factors. He might not be able to use it again in the future. Of course, this wasn't a problem for Ling Xiao. As his cultivation continued to increase, he would have less and less time to rely on others. Anyway, he had obtained this power today, so he could have a good fight with Timur Mutu. It just so happened that he wanted to test how powerful the light and shadow profound meaning would be when he was infinitely close to the Yin-Yang realm. He smiled and suddenly looked at Timur Mutu. I have to say, you're really unlucky to have met me and obtained new power. You can be a qualified sparring partner. Everyone's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Ling Xiao was too arrogant. Even if he was the demon monarch among the monsters, he actually dared to ask Timur Mutu to be his sparring partner. It would be depressing if he didn't succeed in anything and got himself killed. Mutu seemed to be too lazy to talk nonsense with Ling Xiao. He swept over with a strong qi blade. Just a gentle wave of his hand was several times more powerful than Feng Zhan's move. The entire hall began to shake, as if it was about to disintegrate. Everyone could feel how powerful this attack was. Xie Li looked at this scene nervously, but she was powerless. Although she was an expert at the 10th Grotto Heaven Realm, she was still no match for Mu Tuesday. Even so, she still couldn't watch Ling Xiao die. Ling Xiao appeared here to save the Scorpion Men tribe. No matter what other motives Ling Xiao had, objectively speaking, he was here for the Scorpion Men. She couldn't watch Ling Xiao bleed alone. Stand there and don't move. However, just as she took a step forward, Ling Xiao's voice rang out. It was resolute and irrefutable. Xie Li really stopped. In this moment of hesitation, Ling Xiao had already performed his move. It wasn't a new move. It didn't even work on the other light and shadow divine alls. Ling Xiao only used a crimson sun all and a dark shadow all. The red sun all was surrounded by the golden crow fire, while the shadow all was flickering with purple lightning. This time, Ling Xiao didn't plan to launch a sneak attack. He just wanted to break Timur Muta's attack face to face. The young man standing there was still so valiant and extraordinary, so arrogant and unruly, so carefree and unrestrained. It seemed that nothing could make him retreat, and nothing could make him afraid. Both intelligent and brave, a monstrous genius. You live up to these words. To be honest, this old man really doesn't want to kill you, but you don't know how to cherish the chance to live, so I can only take action. Timur Mutu was speaking from the bottom of his heart. He wasn't a person who cherished talents, but even such a person was still amazed after seeing Ling Xiao. If he could use such a monstrous genius, then not to mention the insignificant divine Phoenix continent, even the Five Immortals Island, or even more powerful forces on the mainland, wouldn't be able to compete with the Black Crow Empire. He believed in his own vision. The current Ling Xiao could become an invincible general on the battlefield. And if Ling Xiao was given a few more years, he would probably become a Yin Yang realm expert in the mystic world. You can't kill me. Ling Xiao's voice sounded indifferently. You can't restrain me. Although a Yin Yang realm martial artist is powerful, you're only a hero on the first 3 continents. If I go deeper, you're nothing at all. After saying that, the 2 swords pierced through the air. The 2 awls collided with a huge air blade. An ear-piercing roar sounded in the palace. Chapter 1083. After a moment of rumbling, the power of the explosion finally destroyed the palace that had been ravaged by the destruction. The warriors dodged in panic. Looking at the ruined palace, although their hearts ached, they didn't have the mood to care, because something even more shocking had happened. Ling Xiao actually blocked Timur Muta's attack. This couldn't be described as a miracle. It was simply indescribable. It was too shocking. It was as if they saw an ant tripping an elephant with its tiny legs. Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. The most shocked person was Timur Mutu. He actually couldn't kill Ling Xiao with one move. This was even more shocking and humiliating to him than his defeat in Northern Desert City. He wasn't as smart as Ling Xiao. He couldn't kill him in terms of strength. How was this possible? Old dog, your end is here. A cold voice came from Ling Xiao's mouth. He put away the purple flash sword. Behind him, the shadow of Tao Tai had already appeared. Tao Chia's doomsday, one sword shocking the heavens. Darkness descended, and all the light disappeared. It was as if they were swallowed by a giant beast. This sword was powerful, violent, and crazy. This was Tao Chia's doomsday, the doomsday sword, Ling Xiao's most powerful move at the moment. Boom, boom. The entire space exploded with piercing sounds. In the darkness it was revealed. It was killing. It was death. It was destruction. It was cutting everything and swallowing everything. This sword was earth-shattering and unparalleled. What's going on? Timur Mutu was even more surprised. If his previous attack had been a casual one, he could still accept it. But this time he actually felt fear. When did Ling Xiao become so strong? Although his opponent obviously didn't have the strength of the Yin Yang realm, this kind of lethality wasn't something he could withstand. Retreat. Facing Ling Xiao, Timur Mutu chose to dodge. Because he didn't have the confidence to withstand Ling Xiao's terrifying attack. Light shadow escape, kill. Although Doomsday of Tao Tai was powerful, Ling Xiao didn't think that it could cause much damage to Timur Mutu. Just as the other party had said, even though he was severely injured, he was still able to bring out the strength of a primary Yin Yang realm cultivator. His true killer move was not as powerful as the Tao Tai apocalypse, but its destructive power was not any weaker than the light shadow evasion. It was more secretive, more terrifying, and more impossible to guard against. The moment he used the sword move, Ling Xiao's entire person suddenly disappeared. The sword disappeared. He also disappeared at the same time. Nothing could be seen in the darkness. In the realm of heaven and earth control, with the help of the half-step Yin Yang realm, and with the power of the human king, Yi Qingyu was able to control the heaven and earth. His light-shadow evasion had also been greatly improved. In the entire world, there was only that single ray of light. He couldn't dodge it, nor could he block it. In that instant, Ling Xiao seemed to have reached the true speed of light. Timur Mutu's expression turned ugly. He couldn't locate Ling Xiao. He couldn't sense Ling Xiao's aura. The only thing he could see was a ray of light that was so fast that he couldn't dodge it. He knew that this might be Ling Xiao's attack, but as Yin-Yang realm expert, he couldn't dodge it. At the critical moment, he desperately activated his black crow bloodline. His body turned into a huge black crow. His feathers were as tough as meteorites from outer space, completely wrapping his body. At the same time, the yin-yang energy on the surface of his body condensed into a layer of protection, hoping to use it to weaken the power of the attack. Qila, the damage caused by Doomsday of Taotai, finally arrived. Although Timur Muta's energy protection was strong, it was still completely devoured by the huge Taotai sword energy. Then, the ray of light also arrived. It pierced through the sharp feathers and pierced Timur Muta's body. Timur Mutu actually soared into the sky, flapping his black wings to weaken the power of the attack. A pair of black and white wings appeared on Ling Xiao's back as he soared into the sky and chased after Timur Mutu. His expression was cold, without any fear. In his eyes, the only target was the old dog, Timur Mutu. Could he kill him? He wouldn't ask himself such a question, because a swordsman didn't need to doubt himself, especially in a situation where he already had the upper hand. Doubting himself was akin to committing suicide. This was the best time for Ling Xiao to kill Timur Mutu. He didn't know if he could obtain this kind of power in the future, so he had to kill this old dog here. At the same time, he could also gain valuable experience in dealing with yin-yang realm experts. Ling Xiao's speed was even faster than Timur Muta's. Although Mutu could display the strength of an early yin-yang realm expert, he was still heavily injured. Every time he used his yin-yang energy, his injuries would become more serious. In order to dodge Ling Xiao's attack, he didn't hesitate to transform. This made his injuries worsen faster, but he had no choice. Facing the current Ling Xiao, Timur Mutu didn't know what to do. He could only risk his life. Standing on the ground, Feng Zhan's expression was uncertain. He knew that once Ling Xiao died, he wouldn't be able to live either. Although Ling Xiao was very scary now, Feng Zhan knew that he had to take action. When Ling Xiao attacked Timur Mutu with all his strength, he had to take action and kill Ling Xiao. Only then could he relieve his worries. Yellow sand filled the sky. A figure flew in the sky like a fairy. Her figure was beautiful, and her eyes were beautiful. However, there was a hint of worry in his eyes. Behind her was a group of soldiers in special uniforms. They were riding demon wolves, trained by Northern Desert City. The color of their uniforms was very similar to the color of the desert. When they were still, it was almost impossible to tell the difference. At the front of the group were two women. One of them was as cold as ice. Even in the hot desert, she was as cold as ice. She was cold plum. The other person exuded a sense of nobility and arrogance. Her innate aristocratic temperament made her stand out from the rest of the women. She was Haim Myung-ko. Cold plum, why did the moon lady suddenly appear in the divine phoenix continent? Haim Myung-ko looked at the woman in the sky and asked nervously, "I don't know." Cold plum shook her head. She really didn't know. Of course she knew who the moon lady was. She was the only woman Ling Xiao had expressed his love for, and she was very powerful and terrifying. Why did the moon lady come to the divine phoenix continent? In fact, it was not for anything else, because when she sent Ling Xiao away, she left a trace of her vitality in Ling Xiao's body. As long as Ling Xiao's life was in danger, she would be able to sense it. Many times before, although Ling Xiao had encountered a lot of trouble, he had been able to turn the misfortune into a blessing. But this time, The Moon Lady felt that the yin-yang vitality she had left in Ling Xiao's body was about to disappear. So she ignored everyone's objections and went to the divine Phoenix continent alone, following Ling Xiao's aura all the way. Chapter 1084. In the desert, the Moon Lady encountered the dark assassin team that was rushing over to find Ling Xiao. That was how it was. She had traveled day and night without resting for a moment. She had traveled from Heaven's Choice Academy to here. She could only relax when she saw Ling Xiao. Although the disappearance of the Yin-Yang Yuan Qi might not mean that Ling Xiao's life was in danger, she wasn't willing to take the risk even if there was a slight possibility. She had lived for more than 100,000 years, and Ling Xiao was the only one who dared to say that he liked her and wanted to protect her. She also felt this kid's true intentions. She didn't seem to care, but she was very happy in her heart. She didn't want her man to die like this. She had to save him. What is that place? The Moon Lady suddenly looked in the direction of the poisonous desert and asked, "Your Highness, that is the poisonous desert. The Scorpion Men tribe and Lizard Men tribe live there. It is very dangerous." A member of the Dark Assassin team answered, "Let's go there." The Moon Lady didn't explain anything. She didn't need to. Her powerful strength had convinced these members of the Dark Assassin team. At the same time, Ling Xiao was still chasing after Timur Mutu on top of the collapsed palace in the Scorpion Men tribe. This scene was very strange. If Timur Mutu was chasing after Ling Xiao, it would be understandable. But now, it was the other way around. What angered Timur Mutu the most was that his speed wasn't as fast as Ling Xiao. He wanted to use this opportunity to change the situation. However, Ling Xiao's sword attack gave him no time to do so. He could only keep running. He kept dodging. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. He looked a little miserable. Damn it! Timur Mutu roared in his heart. He was one of the grand tutors of the Black Crow Empire and a top Yin-Yang realm expert. But now he was being bullied by a dog. He was actually being chased around by a brat like Ling Xiao. If this spread out, he would lose all face. Suddenly, he saw Feng Zhan move on the ground. Feng Zhan was also very depressed. He was a general of the Black Crow Empire. He was insufferably arrogant on the battlefield. He was also famous in the Black Crow Empire. However, he was fooled by a stinky brat. If he didn't take advantage of the battle between Ling Xiao and Timur Mutu to kill Ling Xiao, when would he be able to do so? Suddenly, he transformed into a black crow as well. A black light soared into the sky. His sharp claws contained powerful heavenly elemental energy. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao. He had to kill Ling Xiao. Shameless. Xia Li became anxious and soared into the sky at the same time. Unfortunately, she was a scorpion woman, not a black crow. She could not fly. Even though he could temporarily soar into the air, his speed was still much slower. He could only watch helplessly as Feng Zhan attacked Ling Xiao from behind, but there was nothing he could do. Shadow body. Ling Xiao was still there, but he had turned into a shadow. He had no face, no expression, no shadow that a human body should have. The fifth step of the profound meaning of light was light body. He could transform into light to dodge attacks and attack enemies. The fifth step of the profound meaning of shadow was shadow body. He could not dodge any attacks, but could devour everything, including energy. At this moment, Ling Xiao was like a human-shaped black hole. The moment Feng Zhan saw the shadow, he felt a strong sense of danger. He wanted to dodge, but his body was out of his control. A powerful suction force pulled him into the black shadow. Disappeared. The powerful Feng Zhan. The half-step Yin-Yang realm Feng Zhan. He actually disappeared in front of Ling Xiao. What the hell? People didn't know what happened, but they knew Feng Zhan's aura had disappeared. What did it mean? It meant death. Ling Xiao actually used such a strange method to kill Feng Zhan. For a moment, they found it hard to accept. However, the truth was right in front of them. They had to believe it. Sneak attack from behind. Extremely shameless. Death is not to be regretted. Ling Zhao's cold voice echoed in the air. Then he looked at Timur Mutu. Old dog, you must feel bad seeing your capable subordinate killed by me, right? But who asked you to be so useless? You can't even protect your own subordinate. Do you deserve to be called the Grand Tutor? Hateful. If I don't tear you into pieces today, I won't be able to get rid of the hatred in my heart. Timur Mutu had never suffered such humiliation since he started practicing martial arts. A mere human martial artist had actually killed his most capable assistant right in front of him. What a great humiliation! How could he tolerate this? Hee, you want to tear me into pieces? I really don't know which old dog was the one who was chased around by me. Ling Zhao laughed mockingly. He was actually quite helpless. Originally, he had saved the real big move for Timur Mutu to enjoy. Unfortunately, Feng Zhan had blocked it. This had given Timur Mutu a chance to regroup. As the saying goes, the first drum will be strong, the second will be weak, and the third will be exhausted. It was probably impossible for him to kill Muta now. But even so, he still wanted to leave a deep impression on Timur Mutu. If he didn't scare this old dog away, everything he had done today would be in vain. You have a sharp tongue. It's a pity that you've already used up your trump card. But I haven't really made my move yet. Timur Mutu swallowed a pill. In an instant, the wounds on his body stopped bleeding, and he became spirited. The most terrifying thing was that his aura had returned to its original state. Yin-Yang reversal pill. You actually have such a thing. Ling Zhao had seen this type of pill in the primordial divine pill scripture. After consuming it, it could completely heal one's injuries. Furthermore, one's physical strength and inner strength would also be completely restored. However, after 2 hours, one would return to their original state and their injuries would worsen. It seems that Timur Mutu was really forced into a desperate situation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used this kind of thing. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Boy, you're indeed very powerful. You've given me too many surprises today. But since you've killed Feng Zhan, you must be buried with him. Muta didn't want to waste time because the yin-yang reversal pill only had an effect of 2 hours. He suddenly approached Ling Zhao in the air. A powerful aura assaulted Ling Zhao's face. Ling Zhao was forced back dozens of meters. He didn't even have the ability to stay in the air. Was this Timur Muta's full strength? It was simply incomparable. Too terrifying. Almost everyone thought so. But Ling Zhao's face still had a smile on it. Buried with him? You should go. I don't even know him. Ling Zhao had no other choice but to bravely move forward. If he ran away, all his previous efforts would be in vain. Moreover, when Timur Muta's strength had completely recovered, he wouldn't be able to escape because his speed was no longer comparable to Timur Muta's. He could only fight with his back to the river. Chapter 1085. What was a swordsman? What was a warrior? Only by being fearless and cutting off all obstacles in front of him could he be considered strong. Even if the sky fell and the earth cracked, he could still remain calm. He would never retreat in the face of a powerful enemy. This was a warrior, this was a swordsman, and Ling Zhao was such a person. Even though he knew that he was no match for him, Ling Zhao's fighting spirit did not diminish in the slightest. What, you still want to fight with me? Timur, Muta's voice became bone-chilling with some disdain and pity. You are a smart person. You should know that with your current strength, you can't even touch a hair of mine. You can't even touch one of mine. You are always so arrogant. But don't forget that you have already lost twice in front of me. Ling Zhao smiled slightly, and his aura gathered again. He could feel that the human king's power that he had just extracted was about to be exhausted. This attack might decide whether he could drive away Timur Mutu today. Therefore, he did not hold back. He did not intend to hold back either. Behind him, the eye of the world in the sky changed. It was no longer changing inscriptions, but a world. Night and day alternated. and a power emerged that made Timur Amutu very uncomfortable. Pretending to be mysterious, Timur Amutu clasped his palms together, and a terrifying power condensed in his palms. Then it slowly separated, forming a black rhombus-shaped object. Everyone could feel that this black rhombus-shaped object contained an incomparably terrifying power. It was a power that Ling Xiao could not block at all. However, Ling Xiao seemed to not see anything. He just condensed his sword move as if there was no one around. Light and shadow escape. Kill. It was the same move, but its power could not be mentioned in the same breath. A dazzling golden light collided with the black rhombus-shaped object. Clang! A crisp sound of collision rang out, and Ling Xiao's figure appeared. The tip of his sword only left a small scratch on the rhombus-shaped object. This old man has already said that your next attack will be useless. Timur Amutu sneered, and then the rhombus-shaped object suddenly began to spin. The golden crow sword trembled continuously, showing signs of breaking. Crack! Strange cracks appeared on the golden crow sword. Ha ha ha, this is your best weapon, right? What will you do if it breaks? Timur Mudu was very happy. After being suppressed by Ling Xiao for such a long time, he felt as if he was suffering from internal injuries. Now he could finally vent his anger. Are you that happy? Your opponent is just an 8 desolate heaven cultivator. Ling Xiao sneered in disdain. And don't you know that I'm very cunning? Tai Chi sword body. It was still the 5th step of the light and shadow profound meaning, but it was a fusion of the body of shadow and body of light. At this moment, Ling Xiao had actually transformed into a sharp sword. On this sword, there was a clear distinction between black and white. It actually evolved into a huge Taiji diagram, light and shadow intertwined, the fusion of black and white. This sword was not only incomparably sharp and capable of destroying everything, it was also extremely flexible and unfathomable. The seemingly slow sword was actually astonishingly fast. Everyone had a very contradictory illusion. That sword clearly looked so slow that it seemed as if everyone could dodge or dodge it. But in fact, he was so fast, so close yet worlds apart might be describing this sword move. With a slight movement, he could cross a long distance. Danger! Timur Mutu felt extreme danger. He tried to use his fastest speed to dodge the attack, but in the end it was still too late. This sword pierced through his body, leaving a huge Taiji diagram on his chest. The strange diagram was like a demon's curse. One black and one white. The white half was completely empty. The internal organs and flesh in his body were nowhere to be found. The black half was the body that had been completely charred. It had been completely turned into charcoal. This wound was circular and more than a foot in diameter. Everyone saw it clearly, and it was a ghastly sight. Time seemed to stop. Timur Mudu looked at his wound. He couldn't believe this result at all. He couldn't accept it. What kind of move was this? That brat had never used it before. He had been plotted against again. He had to escape. Timur Mudu felt his life force rapidly depleting. He had to find a place to heal his wounds. Otherwise, he might really die. Ling Xiao, just you wait. This old man will definitely not let you off. Timur Mudu ran away, because he realized that Ling Xiao was still standing there with a smile on his face, as if he hadn't lost any energy at all. This made him really afraid. Facing such a cunning and terrifying young man, he felt that he had to think carefully about his battle plan. Right, he still had hundreds of thousands of troops that had retreated to the vicinity of the Scorpion Men tribe. Previously, he had planned to use them as a precaution. Now he could use them. He didn't believe that Ling Xiao could survive the attack of hundreds of thousands of troops. Seeing Timur Mudu run away, the Lizard Men, Black Crow Empire, and Divine Phoenix Empire's martial practitioners also tried to escape. Sister Cieli, don't let them escape. Ling Xiao stood there without moving. It wasn't that he didn't want to move, but that he couldn't. He had used more energy than his body could handle. During the battle, he didn't feel anything wrong, but now he felt uncomfortable. His body felt like it was going to fall apart at any time. But he could only pretend because he was afraid that Timur Mutu would find out. Once that old man found out, he really wouldn't have any power to resist. Cieli made her move. With her strength at the 10th Grotto Heaven Realm, killing those Heaven Realm martial practitioners was just like playing around. In addition, many of the Scorpion Men tribe's martial practitioners had also recovered their battle strength thanks to Ling Xiao's pills. So they all joined in the battle. Ling Xiao had chased away the most terrifying enemy for them. What happened next? They had to rely on themselves. Thousands of Lizard Men and hundreds of Black Crow Empire and Divine Phoenix Empires martial practitioners were all killed on the ruins. There was no sympathy on the battlefield. There was no need for sympathy. Moreover, the Scorpion Men tribe had lost more than 20,000 people this time. It would be strange if they didn't take revenge in anger. The battle ended. All the Scorpion Men surrounded Ling Xiao and knelt down. They worshipped this young man. It was this 16-year-old boy who had broken the norm and created a miracle. Not only did he kill Feng Zhan and Li Bi, but he also defeated Timur Mutu. Bang! Ling Xiao fell heavily to the ground. Xia Li immediately rushed over to help him up. I'm afraid I can't do it. I used the forbidden power this time. My body will be completely destroyed. Ling Xiao was so weak that he almost couldn't speak. No, you can't die. You can't die. I'll take you to the blood mirror pool. Xia Li stood up with Ling Xiao in her arms. Her eyes were filled with determination. Cieli, the blood mirror pool, is the forbidden area of our Scorpion Men tribe. Only the king is qualified to enter. A Scorpion man reminded. Chapter 1086. Someone reminded Cieli that the blood mirror pool was a forbidden place for Scorpion Men and the cultivation place of the Scorpion King. So what? I only know that in this situation, only the water of the blood mirror pool can save Ling Xiao. Do you want to watch him die? Is this how we Scorpion Men treat our benefactor? Xia Li said furiously. I'm just saying, don't be angry. What I mean is, can he withstand the water of the blood mirror pool? What if he dies because of it? The Scorpion Man smiled bitterly. Xia Li looked at Ling Xiao and asked, Young master, do you want to go or not? I'll go. Ling Xiao had no choice. He was not afraid of death, but he did not want to die. Since the blood mirror pool gave him a chance to survive, he had to try. He was not afraid of Timur and Mutu. How could he be afraid of cultivating in a forbidden place like the blood mirror pool? The blood mirror pool was not a small pool. After being taken in by Cieli, Ling Xiao found that the winding paths led to a secluded place. The space was very large and the structure was extremely complicated. If someone who was not familiar with the place entered, he would definitely be trapped inside. At the entrance, Cieli was so nervous that she did not know how to proceed. Because she had never been in this place before, she did not know which path to choose. The third path from the right. Ling Xiao said. Xia Li was stunned for a moment, but she still walked over as he said. Although his body was extremely weak, Ling Xiao's soul was still very normal. Relying on his powerful soul force, it was not difficult for him to determine the correct path. There was a strange atmosphere in the deep path, which made people feel very depressed. Xia Li hugged Ling Xiao tighter. On the one hand, she did not want anything to happen to Ling Xiao. On the other hand, she was afraid. At the front of the road, there were faint flashes of light. Xia Li heaved a sigh of relief. Although she had never been here before, she had heard the Scorpion King mention the general scene of entering the blood mirror pool. Since there was light in front, it was basically right. As they got closer, the light became even brighter. After passing through the dark path, Ling Xiao and Cieli were surprised to find that there was a huge space inside. The space inside was no smaller than the Scorpion King's palace. In the middle of the palace, there was a blazing ball of fire. The strange thing was that the fireball was actually in the shape of a three-dimensional Taiji diagram. In other words, it was the Tai Chi ball. Half of it was white and the other half was black. You have me in you, and I have you in me, exuding a gentle glow. There was a small room near the Tai Chi ball. It should be the place where the Scorpion King usually cultivated. The room was not big, but it was made of special materials that could absorb both black and white energy at the same time. Sister Cieli, is this the blood mirror pool? Ling Xiao could not help but feel a little confused. Wasn't the blood mirror pool supposed to be a pool of water? I don't know either. This is different from what the Scorpion King described. According to the Scorpion King scroll, there should be a small blood pool at the end of the tunnel. Inside it is the most precious treasure of our tribe, the blood mirror. Cieli forced a smile. Is there a mistake? Ling Xiao was stunned. When he checked the tunnel with his soul power, he found that 2 of the tunnels had the effect of assisting in healing and cultivation. However, this one was obviously stronger. Could it be that this was a place that even the Scorpion King had never been to? What was going on with that room? Ling Xiao's mind was a little confused. Forget it. He just needed to trust his intuition. Sister Cieli, take me there. Ling Xiao made up his mind. This was the choice that his soul told him to make. He believed that it could not be wrong. Cieli nodded and walked toward the Tai Chi ball with Ling Xiao in her arms. Just as they approached the Tai Chi ball, the huge ball actually spun faster. Then the black side produced a terrifying suction force, sucking the 2 of them in. Sister Cieli, hold on to me. Ling Xiao's voice was heard in the darkness. Cieli thought that Ling Xiao was afraid. However, she did not know that the moment Ling Xiao was sucked in by the Tai Chi ball, he felt the terrifying power of the Tai Chi ball. Without hesitation, he released his mountain river martial soul. Only the mountain river martial soul could resist this terrifying power. If Cieli was too far away, she would definitely die. The sun and the moon alternated and day and night rotated. Ling Xiao could feel that the mountain river martial soul started to spin faster. The mountain river martial soul devoured, absorbed, and transformed the 2 terrifying energies released by the Tai Chi ball. Cieli held Ling Xiao tightly as the energy from the mountain river martial soul seeped into her body. Sister Cieli, don't let your imagination run wild. Start cultivating. I don't know what the Tai Chi ball is, but for now, it's very beneficial to both of us. It will definitely help you improve your cultivation. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Cieli nodded and closed her eyes. She let the energy flow into her body instead of resisting it. Ling Xiao did not resist either. The energy of the Tai Chi ball, which had been transformed by the mountain and river martial spirit, seeped into every part of his body and began to repair his almost shattered internal organs and heaven veins. His flesh and blood became pure energy. Ling Xiao's body started a new evolution. After this evolution, his understanding of the light and shadow ultimacy would most likely be greatly improved. Of course, this was just Ling Xiao's speculation. Based on the current situation, his judgment should be correct. Because everything was progressing in a good direction, the Tai Chi ball became smaller and smaller, while the red sun in the mountain river martial soul became bigger and bigger. The eye of the world also began to undergo some special changes. It became smaller and smaller until it finally merged into Ling Xiao's left eye. It was no longer a separate ability from Ling Xiao's body. Instead, it became the ability of Ling Xiao himself. The color of the left eye also started to change. The eyeball turned into a Tai Chi ball. It started to rotate and release terrifying energy. It was completely connected with the spirit ocean. The left eye could not only see through all the flaws of martial arts, but also the scene hundreds of miles away. It could also release terrifying soul power to control the souls of the enemies. What was even more frightening was that several of the original abilities of soul judgment had been integrated into his left eye. The predecessor of the soul judgment was the soul dice. It was a secret skill of the soul. However, whether it was a secret skill or not, it was still an external thing. However, it was different now. It was no longer a secret skill. It had become the ability of Ling Xiao himself. There was no need to cultivate it. As Ling Xiao's strength increased, it would continue to strengthen. Tai Chi Ai. That's right. I'll call you Tai Chi Ai. Tai Chi Ai was a special ability. It could be concealed. If one wanted to use it, he could activate it with his soul power. In this way, he could hide this terrifying ability. It would become more terrifying in future battles. Chapter 1087. Soon after, the Tai Chi ball disappeared completely. It was forcibly divided and devoured by the mountain and river martial spirit and finally transformed into light and shadow energy. Most of it was absorbed by Ling Xiao's body, while a small part was integrated into Xia Li's body. What a terrifying mountain and river martial spirit. It could really contain and control everything. Ling Xiao was very clear about how terrifying the Tai Chi ball was. That kind of terrifying power could actually be absorbed and transformed by the mountain and river martial spirit. How terrifying was the mountain and river martial spirit! The birth of the Tai Chi Ai made Ling Xiao realize something else. His light and shadow ultimacy also entered the sixth step. This time the light and shadow ultimacy was related to the eyes. Although he was a swordsman, it did not affect his ability to use other attacks. Ling Xiao was good at freely controlling energy. Although his power was more systematic and he only focused on the use and improvement of the mountain and river martial spirit, he did not need to be restricted to the sword. The mountain and river martial spirit seems to have advanced. It has now reached the early stage of the wandering soul stage. Ling Xiao really wanted to see what would happen if he released the mountain and river martial spirit to attack the enemy. However, he still held back. This thing was his trump card. It was his secret weapon. Basically, he would not use it until the last moment. He could feel that, in addition to the strengthening of his martial spirit and the advancement of the light and shadow ultimacy, his cultivation had also broken through to the peak of the eight desolate heaven. His cultivation breakthrough was not fast, mainly because most of the energy was used to transform his body. Now, if he used his body to display the body of light and body of shadow, it would be easier for him to do so. Previously, he was affected by his body size. Whether it was light or shadow, they could only reach the same size as his body. But now, there was no such restriction. This kind of progress was very terrifying. If it had been like this before, his last move, the Tai Chi sword body, could have killed Timur Mudu directly. He looked back at Xia Li. This enchanting sister was still cultivating and had not woken up. It seemed that Xia Li's body was not nourished by the Tai Chi ball, but her cultivation breakthrough should be much better than Ling Xiao's. Without disturbing Xia Li, Ling Xiao jumped into the room. As expected, the room was not big. There was a mirror inside. This huge mirror had already rotted when he touched it. While Ling Xiao sighed, he also looked at the words beside the mirror. These words were very ancient, but they were not a problem when the Tai Chi Eye was opened. The human king came to save the scorpion tribe. He gave us the mirror Tai Chi, which could suppress the fire of yin and yang. Over time, it formed the Tai Chi ball, which was the last weapon of the scorpion tribe, the human king. Ling Xiao could not help but smile bitterly. He Xue Li's king. He had heard from Xia Li that the human king had once saved the scorpion men from the tyrannical rule of the lizard men. Xia Li did not know there was a treasure mirror, mirror, yang mirror. The Tai Chi mirror's energy source was the Tai Chi ball. At the same time, it was also the magic treasure that suppressed the Tai Chi ball. Li was mirror was the Li, she was she spirit chi, mirror was Li. Even the human king did not expect that the ultimate weapon he left for the scorpion tribe would be eaten by Ling Xiao. Of course, there was no point in not eating it. There seemed to be some problems in the process. so the Scorpion tribe did not know about this ultimate weapon. Otherwise, if this thing was used to deal with Timur Mutu, the Scorpion tribe would not be as unlucky as they were now. This was probably what the ancients often said: do not force what you don't have in your life. Sometimes you have to have it. An hour had passed. Outside the blood mirror pool, the Scorpion men were checking everywhere in the tribe, hoping to find those who were still alive. At this moment, rosy clouds flew in the sky. A ray of moonlight descended in the daytime. The Scorpion men warriors knelt down to pray. They thought it was a fairy descending to the mortal world. When they saw it clearly, they realized it was a peerless beauty. However, this beauty did not look good. She was anxious and angry. Rumble. Moments after this peerless beauty appeared, a group of dozens of cavalrymen also appeared. These people were all riding demon wolves that had been carefully selected and raised. They were huge and were good at running in the wild. Where is Ling Xiao? The fairy spoke while the Scorpion men warriors were shocked. Her voice was cold and filled with killing intent. Haha, may I ask where a fairy is from? We have never heard of such a person as Ling Xiao, much less seen him. One of the Scorpion warriors stepped forward and said, respectfully, "This queen does not want to waste words with you. Ling Xiao's aura is on this mountain. Will you obediently tell me his whereabouts? Or will this queen destroy this mountain and kill all of you?" Humph, I don't care who you are, where you come from, or how powerful you are. Hero Ling is the benefactor of our Scorpion tribe. We will not hand him over to you no matter what. Stop dreaming. A child who looked to be only 11 or 12 years old among the Scorpion men roared. Oh, the Moon Maiden's lips curled into a smile. Then she suddenly disappeared. When she reappeared, the little guy was already in her hand. If you are not willing to tell me where Ling Xiao is, I will kill this little guy. The Moon Maiden said coldly. Humph, you look as beautiful as a fairy, but how can you be so vicious? He is just a child. Come at us. The strongest Scorpion warriors stepped forward and glared at the Moon Maiden as they roared. Let's go. You? The Moon Maiden sneered disdainfully. With a wave of her hand, those warriors who were at the Grotto Heaven realm and were only weaker than Xie Li were easily sent flying. I will give you one last chance. Tell me where Ling Xiao is, and you will not die. The Moon Maiden's voice became even colder. Although we Scorpion men are not good people, we will never betray our benefactor. You can kill us or torture us as you wish. The Scorpion men warriors might not be as noble as these people said, but those who would betray had already done so. Those who stayed were all loyal warriors who valued friendship and loyalty. These Scorpion men did not surrender to Fengzhan, so they would not surrender to the Moon Maiden. Haha, not bad. The Moon Maiden gently put down the Scorpion man-child. She did this to prevent anyone from lying to her. If these people were not willing to betray Ling Xiao even in the face of death, then they could be trusted. The Scorpion men warriors were stunned. They did not know what the Moon Maiden was up to. Just as Haim Miankeo stepped forward to explain the situation, a black cloud suddenly appeared in the sky. The dark yellow sand swept over like ants all over the desert. Chapter 1088. Oh no, that Timur Mutu is back. There are hundreds of thousands of black crow soldiers. What should we do now? What else can we do? Let's just fight. Our benefactor has already done everything he could for us. This time, let's protect ourselves. The Scorpion warriors quickly gathered together. They no longer looked at the Moon Lady and the others. Instead, they looked at the group of people in the sky. The Moon Lady retracted her aura and waited quietly. She relaxed because she felt that Ling Xiao's aura did not continue to weaken. Instead, it seemed to have broken out of its cocoon and become stronger. That kid must have gotten lucky again. Since that's the case, I'll help you clean up your enemies. The Moon Lady smiled and looked at the group of invaders. Where's Ling Xiao? Timur Mutu roared. Old dog Mutu, stop dreaming. Even if you kill all of us, scorpion men, we won't betray our benefactor. Good, very good. Then I'll kill all of you today. Muta's injuries had not healed, but they were temporarily under control. He rushed back because he wanted to take revenge and kill Ling Xiao. He did not want Ling Xiao to escape. If Ling Xiao escaped back to the Divine Phoenix Empire, it would not be so easy for him to kill him. Why are you looking for Ling Xiao? The Moon Lady asked calmly. When did such a beautiful girl come? Who is Ling Xiao to you? Timur Mutu was stunned for a moment before asking. He's my man, the Moon Lady replied. Man. Ha ha ha, that's great, that's great. You came at the right time. I really want to see what kind of expression that brat Ling Xiao will have when he sees you being sullied by me. Listen to my orders. Leave those 3 girls behind. Kill the rest. Timur Mutu gave the order. The crowd began to surround and attack. The Black Stone Mountain was almost packed with people, and there was almost no space for them to stand. Don't attack, the Moon Lady said softly when she saw that Haim Mian-ko and the others were about to attack. Hearing this, everyone from Darkthorn couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. Although they didn't know how terrifying the Moon Lady was, they could sense her terrifying aura. Coupled with Haim Mian-ko and Cold Plum, they were deeply afraid of this fairy-like woman. To provoke this person, one's life would not be long. The Moon Maiden smiled brightly. For so many years, no one has ever dared to speak to me like this. Not only do you want to kill my man, you also want to defile me. I find it very interesting. Her voice rang out. A bright moon suddenly rose in the sky. This light had already covered up the blazing sunlight, except the baptism of the bright moon. As her voice fell, the bright moon suddenly shone brightly, and the moonlight illuminated the entire Blackstone ruins. Screams rang out one after another. In front of her, it was as if those soldiers were no longer humans, but straws that were being harvested. This was the role of the strong. If there was no Jining in the northern desert city, if the Black Crow army did not have Timur Mutu, it would have been useless no matter how many people they brought. Although the combined power of an army was very terrifying, it was meaningless if the difference in power was too great. Just like today, the remaining few 100,000 soldiers of the Black Crow army were almost all killed by the Moon Maiden in one move. Only a few Grotto Heaven Realm warriors were still alive, and these people were all seriously injured. Kill! The Moon Maiden would not attack the survivors a second time, so Cold Plum raised the sharp blade in her hand. Kill! Dozens of people from the Dark Thorn roared in unison, their murderous aura filling the sky. What a terrifying woman! What a terrifying team! In this team, the weakest one should be at least at the Avalon of 5 elements. The warriors from the Scorpion tribe were all frightened. The Moon Maiden's power was beyond their imagination. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands of people were turned into ashes. Was this something that a human could do? It was too terrifying. It was really too terrifying. The Dark Thorn cleaned up the battlefield, and the only one alive was Timur Mutu. At this moment, Timur Mutu was completely scared out of his wits. Even when he was at his peak, he could kill tens of thousands of Black Crow army soldiers with one move. But this woman could easily destroy hundreds of thousands of Black Crow army soldiers. How terrifying was her power! She was Ling Xiao's woman? No wonder that brat was so arrogant. Wasn't he too lucky? Timur Mutu did not think too much about it. He turned and fled. Even when he was at his peak, he did not dare to fight with such a woman. Moreover, he did not even have 10% of his power now. If he did not run, would he stay and die? Moon has tears. A heavenly voice sounded from the Moon Maiden's mouth, and a tear-like radiance caught up with Timur Mutu. Timur Mutu's body shook violently, and then he fell to the ground, vomiting blood. It's over. It's completely over. He was extremely regretful now. He regretted provoking Ling Xiao. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. Moreover, he could not have predicted the future. How could he have known that there was such a terrifying woman behind Ling Xiao? When the warriors from the Scorpion tribe saw this, they were completely dumbfounded. Who was Timur Mutu? He had actually been defeated so easily by this fairy-like woman. Was she still human? She was simply a fairy who had descended from the ninth heaven. They knelt down again. It seemed that their previous prayers were not wrong. This fairy was not here to cause trouble for Ling Xiao. She was Ling Xiao's woman. Then wouldn't Ling Xiao also be an immortal? A relatively backward tribe like this believed in gods. Although they believed in the Scorpion god, it did not prevent them from worshipping other gods. The Scorpion god did not save their tribe, but Ling Xiao and this fairy did. They could still tell the difference between good and bad. Cold Plum, I'll leave him to you. I'll go find Ling Xiao. The Moon Maiden did not even look at Timur Mutu. Her attack had completely destroyed Timur Muta's cultivation. Now, even an ordinary person could kill the seriously injured Timur Mutu on the spot, let alone Cold Plum. Yes, Your Highness. He was called the Moon Maiden? Timur Muta finally knew who he had fallen into. He had indeed heard of the Moon Maiden. She was the strongest person on the heavenly dragon continent, a fairy who had lived for more than 100,000 years. He actually wanted to defile such a woman. He was really blind. He deserved it, but he was not willing to die like this. Your Highness Moon Maiden, may I say something? Timur Mutu said loudly. Speak. Your Highness, you are a hero of the sacred dynasty. You must want to rebuild the sacred dynasty. If you are willing to let me live, then our Black Crow Empire can send troops to help you attack the true demonic empire. This way, the sacred dynasty can be rebuilt. Timur Mutu said, I'm not interested in that. I only care about him. The Moon Maiden said faintly. Chapter 1089. It had been more than 100,000 years. The Moon Lady was used to the chaos of the dynasty. So what if the sacred dynasty existed? It had nothing to do with her. She only had Ling Xiao in her heart. Your Highness, why don't we imprison him first and make a decision after we find Ling Xiao? Perhaps Ling Xiao can use him. Miam Ko suggested. Okay, we'll do as you say. The Moon Lady nodded in agreement. She really didn't care if she killed Timur Mutu or not. After all, she would have a chance to kill him in the future. She turned to look at the Scorpion warriors and said, Where's Ling Xiao? Fairy, Ling Xiao was severely injured by this old man. His body is about to shatter. Our Commander Scorpion brought him into the forbidden area. At this moment, the Scorpion man naturally had nothing to hide. Hearing this, the Moon Lady suddenly slapped out without any warning. The moonlight palm wind blasted onto Timur Muta's body. Timur Mutu, who still had a little hope of survival, died with his eyes wide open. You shouldn't have injured him, and you shouldn't have almost killed him, the Moon Lady muttered to herself. Then she looked at the Scorpion man and said, Lead the way. I want to go to the forbidden area. Yes, the Scorpion warriors weren't idiots. The Moon Lady could easily kill a Yin-Yang realm warrior, the Grand Tutor of the Black Crow Empire, and a god of war who had been famous in the Black Crow Empire for decades. If he wanted to destroy their tribe, it would only take a flick of his finger. They weren't that stupid. Furthermore, they knew that the Moon Lady wouldn't hurt Ling Xiao. Why couldn't she go to the forbidden area? The door to the blood mirror pool was tightly shut. The Moon Lady coldly slapped out with her palm. The entire mountain shook and huge rocks collapsed. However, the door didn't move at all. It seems that there's a formation on the door. Unfortunately, I don't understand it. The Moon Lady sighed and said, Cold Plum, Mian Ko, go back. Go back and tell your great General Jining that Ling Xiao is fine. I'll wait here alone. She knew that Ling Xiao was fine, so she didn't worry anymore. However, she didn't want to leave just like that. From today onward, Unless Ling Xiao asked her to leave, she wouldn't leave Ling Xiao no matter what. This man was the driving force for her to continue living. Without him, she was bored. We're not leaving. Just leave the matter of delivering the letter to the albatross. We're going to wait here. Although Lang Mei was afraid of the Moon Lady, there was nothing to discuss on this matter. The Moon Lady didn't say anything. Instead, she sat down cross-legged and closed her eyes to wait. Fairy, why don't you find a place to stay first? To be honest, the Blood Mirror Pool is where the king of our Scorpion Men tribe cultivates. Every time he goes in, it'll take at least a month. Sometimes it'll take a few years before he comes out. It's not a good idea to wait here forever. The Scorpion Men were all very emotional. As expected of their savior, Ling Xiao had so many people willing to protect and wait for him here. Even their only surviving commander, Xieli, didn't hesitate to break the tribe's rules and bring Ling Xiao into the forbidden area to heal. This was probably what they meant by a just cause enjoys abundant support. Darkthorn, come with me to hunt nearby. Be prepared for a long wait. Hai Miankeo stood up. Since they had to wait for a long time, they had to prepare food and drink. There's no need to trouble you. Our tribe has been saved by our savior, so there's nothing we can do. Just leave the food to us. After all, we're more familiar with this place. A deputy commander of the Scorpion Men tribe said. Then we'll have to trouble you. Everyone, take a rest here. Haim Miankeo nodded and didn't say anything else. Waiting was nothing. Haim Miankeo's life was saved by Ling Xiao. As for the other members of the Dark Thorn, it was needless to say. Ling Xiao had almost single-handedly changed the situation in Northern Desert City. Although the people and civilians of Northern Desert City had to stay in Northern Desert Pass temporarily, they had been betrayed by their own people. However, that was because he was betrayed by his own people, not because Ling Xiao was useless. Ever since that battle, they had both admired and trusted Ling Xiao. They no longer had the unconvinced attitude they had when they first started following Ling Xiao. Let alone a few years, even if they had to wait here for decades, they could just stay. It was better than going back and being destroyed by those dirty political schemes. Xie Li was still cultivating in the Blood Mirror Pool. Ling Xiao continued to observe the situation in the room. Although the Tai Chi mirror was destroyed, there was still a stone coffin in the room. It seemed that the stone coffin hadn't been opened for a long time. It was tightly sealed. Through the Tai Chi eye, he could see some secret inscriptions flashing constantly. It should be a magic array. As a magic array master, Ling Xiao didn't know what the magic array was, but the analytical ability of the Tai Chi eye was too strong. In just a moment, the functions, flaws, and components of the magic array appeared in his mind one by one. Although it's powerful, it's a pity that it hasn't been maintained for a long time. It can't stop me at all. Looking at the stone coffin, Ling Xiao smiled and then pointed at several places on the stone coffin. After a while, with a click, the lid of the stone coffin was obviously loosened. What on earth was in it? He took a deep breath and prepared himself. Then he slowly opened the stone coffin. The moment the stone coffin was opened, Ling Xiao was stunned. There was nothing in the stone coffin. It was empty. But that's not right. Why would an empty stone coffin be so tightly protected by a magic array? There must be a problem. Just as Ling Xiao was puzzled, a black shadow suddenly sat up from the stone coffin. To be honest, without the Tai Chi eye, Ling Xiao couldn't see this black shadow at all, because this black shadow wasn't a physical body, but a soul in the truest sense. This was something that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Only soul force could sense it. Of course, the Tai Chi eye had its special features. Naturally, it could see it. Eye of light. The moment he saw the black shadow, Ling Xiao felt danger. At that moment, he used the sixth step of the profound meaning of light that he had just comprehended. Eye of light. Although the power of Eye of Light relied on the power of light and the profound meaning of light, it required the Tai Chi eye to release. At that moment, All the darkness was about to be dispelled. Light descended upon the world. The living could be healed, while the dead would be dispelled. The black shadow howled and flew back into the stone coffin. It curled up in a dark corner and couldn't move. Ling Shao sneered, and the Tai Chi eye moved again. Eye of the immortal pot. The immortal pot was a soul secret technique, and now it had Ling Xiao's eye technique. The black shadow was illuminated by the light until it was extremely weak. Then it was absorbed into the eye of the immortal pot and entered an isolated space. This space was connected to the mountain river world. It was completely under Ling Xiao's control. Chapter 1090. Tell me, what are you doing? Why did you sneak attack me? Ling Xiao's soul entered the mountain river world and asked the black figure coldly. Damn it, I was sealed by the human king for so many years. I wanted to occupy your body, but who knew that you had the same ability as the human king? I hate it. As it spoke, the black figure finally revealed its true form. It turned out to be a huge black lizard. Its size was a little similar to a black dragon. You're the lizard ancestor? Ling Xiao asked in surprise. That's right, the lizard race's strength started with me. The black figure said, Liar! The lizard ancestor has been sealed for almost 100,000 years. You don't have a body. How can you still be alive? Ling Xiao said coldly, Kid, how can you talk to the ancestor like that? Ancestor. Yes, you're the lizard ancestor. But here, you can only listen to me. Ling Xiao waved his hand gently, and the dazzling sunlight was aimed at the huge lizard shadow. Stop. I'll tell you everything. Please don't torture me. The lizard ancestor only had his soul left. To be exact, it was just a soul, so it was naturally afraid of the sunlight's torture. It was just like how it was afraid of the eye of light. The reason I'm still alive is because I once cultivated a soul martial art from outer space, the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll. Primordial Spirit? What's that? Ling Xiao asked curiously. I don't know, but there are martial artists in outer space who can cultivate their soul into a primordial spirit. Even if they don't have a body, they can still live forever. It's said that when they're strong enough, their primordial spirit can even leave their body. It's very terrifying, the lizard ancestor explained. Interesting, so you're not a soul now, but a so-called primordial spirit? Ling Xiao asked. How is that possible? If I really cultivated a primordial spirit, then the human king wouldn't be able to kill me. Unfortunately, I've only condensed a primordial spirit, so I'm still far from a primordial spirit. Source spirit. The cultivation levels in the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll are Primordial Spirit, Shell Emergence, Night Roaming, Day Roaming, Object Manipulation, Manifestation, Possession, Lightning Tribulation, and Primordial Spirit. Hearing this, Ling Xiao couldn't help but feel happy. Although his soul power was very strong, it originated from the natural increase of the mountain river martial spirit. He didn't know how to cultivate his soul. The lizard ancestor's Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll was extremely useful to Ling Xiao. Although it was only a remnant scroll and should not be complete, it was undoubtedly an excellent item for Ling Xiao, who lacked a soul cultivation method. However, judging from the lizard patriarch situation, it was clear that the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll was extremely difficult to cultivate. Otherwise, why would this fella only cultivate to the first stage, the Essence Soul stage? This was too strange. Since the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll is so good, why did you only cultivate to the Essence Soul stage? Ling Xiao asked with a cold snort. It's all because of that human king guy. I was sealed not long after I obtained this thing. How could I have the chance to cultivate it? The lizard ancestor said with righteous indignation. I see. Ling Xiao felt that the lizard ancestor didn't seem to be lying. Kid, you were able to open the stone coffin today and save me. we can be considered to be fated. How about this? I'll pass the primordial spirit remnant scroll to you, and you let me go. This is definitely a good deal for you. The lizard ancestor suddenly said with a smile, I see that your soul power is so strong, but it's a pity that you can't make better use of it. If you have the primordial spirit remnant scroll, everything will be different. Even if you don't cultivate martial arts, you can still roam the mystic world with your soul power alone. You're so kind? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. I'm not being kind. I'm not a good person, but I just want to live. This is a deal. The lizard ancestor seemed to be sincere. Well, I have to think about this. Ling Xiao pondered. What are you thinking about? I can feel that you have a very strong martial soul, but you can't control it. Do you know why? The lizard ancestor said. Why? The lizard ancestor was right. Ling Xiao had always been curious. Logically speaking, his mountain river martial soul had merged with his soul, and he should be able to control it easily. But in reality, the situation was not so. Obviously, there was a problem. It's simple. The martial soul was brought from the outer world by the human king. So the real cultivation and control of the martial soul also came from the outer world. Let me put it this way. The connection between the soul and the martial soul is much closer than the connection between the body and the martial soul. The stronger the soul, the stronger the martial soul, and the easier it is to control it. The lizard ancestor seemed to be determined to make this deal with Ling Xiao, so he had to tell him all the benefits of cultivating the soul. I still don't understand. Ling Xiao shook his head. You are obviously a genius. How can you be so stupid? To put it simply, the martial soul is actually the external form of the soul. But the current warriors don't understand it at all. They think that the martial soul will never change and will always have the same form. It's a big mistake. The lizard ancestor shook his head and said, the form and power of the martial soul are completely changed by the warrior's soul and cultivation. Do you know why some people awaken the sword martial soul and others awaken the saber martial soul or other martial souls? I don't know. It's good that you don't know. When you were born, was there a lot drawing activity? The elders put a pile of things in front of the children and then let them choose. Yes, I seem to understand something. In other words, the awakening of the martial soul is actually affected by the warrior's soul. Just like the lot drawing, if you get a sword, you will get a sword martial soul. If you get something else, you will get another martial soul. Ling Xiao suddenly understood. That's right. Basically, it's like that. But some warriors will be affected by external things during the awakening of the martial soul, such as bloodlines, martial arts manuals, weapons, inheritance, and so on. Ling Xiao completely understood the lizard ancestor's words. The reason why he was able to awaken the mountain river martial soul was because of the book he got from Hong Qi. He didn't understand it before, but now it was all clear. Most martial artists were passively adapting to their martial souls and not actively transforming their martial souls. Although once the martial soul was formed, it was difficult to change its form. But in terms of power, combat methods, and so on, it could be upgraded and transformed. For example, if a person had a sword martial soul, at the beginning, it might only be the external form of a sword. It could enhance the warrior's attack. But if one deliberately transformed the sword martial soul to have more characteristics, it could continue to improve while maintaining the appearance of a sword. Just like a magic weapon, it could be continuously tempered. Chapter 1091. I understand now. I completely understand now. In the past, he was completely confused about martial spirits. But at this moment, it was completely clear. All right, I'll make the deal. He would not lose anything by letting the lizard ancestor leave after obtaining the primordial spirit remnant scroll. He had the Eye of Light, and the lizard ancestor could not hurt him in his current state. You're indeed a smart person. The lizard ancestor chuckled, and a memory was instantly transmitted to Ling Xiao's mind. Is this the primordial spirit remnant scroll? Ling Xiao carefully identified every word and sentence. He had never seen the real primordial spirit remnant scroll, but his mountain river martial soul could analyze if the words were reasonable and harmful. If the lizard patriarch tried to play tricks on him, he would not show any mercy. The lizard ancestor laughed in his heart. Kid, no matter how smart you are, you won't be able to recognize if I slightly change some of the important words. Moreover, the words are from another world, so you won't know if there's a problem. He had a good plan. If Ling Xiao dared to cultivate the problematic primordial spirit remnant scroll, his soul would definitely be injured. When that happened, he would take the opportunity to seize Ling Xiao's body. In fact, there was one thing that he had not told the truth. His primordial spirit remnant scroll had not only reached the essence soul realm, but also the possession realm. In other words, as long as Ling Xiao's soul was injured, he could possess the body and suppress Ling Xiao's soul to gain control of the body. There was a difference between that and possession. After possession, the other party's soul would also be destroyed. However, possession could not do that, and the other party's soul would have to be suppressed at all times. However, the lizard ancestor was not afraid. In his opinion, his soul was much stronger than Ling Xiao's. As long as he had this opportunity, he would definitely be able to achieve his goal. Are you happy? Ling Xiao suddenly asked with a smile. Of course I'm happy. I'm about to regain my freedom. The lizard ancestor said with a smile. Still pretending? Although most of your primordial spirit remnant volume is real, there are a few key points that are obviously problematic. Do you really think I'm stupid? I was originally sincere in making a deal with you. Since you don't know how to cherish it, then don't blame me. Ling Xiao was too lazy to talk nonsense with this old bastard. If he refined this old bastard soul, he could also obtain the primordial spirit remnant scroll, and even this old bastard's martial arts. However, doing so would waste too much time and would be difficult in a short period of time. That was why he wanted to make this deal. But who would have thought that this old thing would be so crafty and actually want to harm him? How could he tolerate this? In the mountain river realm, the scorching sunlight completely enveloped the lizard patriarch. Here, the lizard patriarch could not move freely at all. He could only let the scorching sunlight slowly strip away his soul. I'll give you the real one. I'll give you the real primordial spirit remnant scroll. The lizard patriarch was truly afraid now. Do you regret it now? Too late. Ling Xiao did not waste any more words, and his soul left the mountain river realm. The cultivation of the primordial spirit remnant scroll could not be completed overnight. The lizard patriarch's soul could not be refined overnight either. Now that he had recovered from his injuries, he should hurry back to the northern desert city. He did not forget that there were tens of thousands of brothers and more than 100,000 people waiting for him there. The imperial family of the divine Phoenix Empire had plotted against him, and the righteous alliance had schemed against him. But those people and the northern desert army had fought side by side with him to the end. He could still clearly distinguish between good and bad. At this moment, Xia Li had woken up from his cultivation. He looked excitedly at his own body, somewhat in disbelief. You broke through? Ling Xiao asked. Yes, the Yin-Yang realm. Xia Li nodded. This was like a dream. She had directly advanced from the 10th grotto heaven to the first tier of the Yin-Yang realm, skipping the half-step Yin-Yang realm that most martial artists had to go through. This meant that she must have obtained an extremely strong power, so much so that she didn't need to accumulate it all and directly broke through to a higher realm. Congratulations, big sister Xia Li. Although the Scorpion Men tribe lost a Scorpion King in battle, another Yin-Yang realm expert has been born. At the very least, there shouldn't be any danger for now. Ling Xiao smiled. Young master, you must be joking. We Scorpion Men can't go against our blood oath. Since I said that I would become your slave, I can't go against it. Xia Li said very seriously. She was saved by Ling Xiao. Without Ling Xiao, she would have been humiliated by Blind Scorpion. The Scorpion Men tribe was also saved by Ling Xiao. Without Ling Xiao, the Scorpion Men tribe would have been completely destroyed by Timur and Mutu. Her breakthrough in cultivation was also because of Ling Xiao. Xieli, was not a good person, but she was definitely someone who valued blood oaths very much. She would never go against her oath. All right, as you wish. We'll talk about this after we get out. Let's go. I believe your tribesmen are waiting anxiously. Ling Xiao did not insist. What was there to be dissatisfied with having a Yinyang realm slave? Yes, young master. Xieli nodded and followed Ling Xiao out of the forbidden area. Outside the blood mirror pool, the members of the Dark Thorn were eating. These delicious barbecued meat and vegetables were all found and prepared by the warriors of the Scorpion Men tribe. The Moon Maiden did not eat. She stood there quietly. Her body was always enveloped by a strange moonlight, making her look like a moonlight fairy. However, no one knew what kind of pain the Moon Maiden was going through. A long time ago, she had taken in a female disciple named Yihua. This disciple was very talented. She was originally groomed to be the successor of the Yuehua school's sect master. However, when Yihua was 16 years old, she fell in love with a man. This man's origin was very mysterious, but he was very powerful. Within a few days, Yihua was completely infatuated with him. For this man, Yihua even used the Moon Maiden's trust and took away the Moon Maiden's most precious moonlight heart. The moonlight heart was the Moon Maiden's heart. It was a heart that looked like beautiful jade. This heart was condensed by the Moon Maiden after countless years. It was the key to helping her transform into a human form. Once she lost it, not only would her cultivation be greatly reduced, but her body would also be extremely weak. The most terrifying thing was that once she could not see the moon, her body would have to endure extreme pain. She had never told anyone about this kind of pain. Only she knew that it was more terrifying than having tens of thousands of steel needles pierced into her heart. Later, she found a way to suppress this pain. That was to stay in her palace because it could release light that was very similar to the moonlight to reduce her pain. Ever since this palace was built, she rarely left the Yuehua school. The first time she left the Yuehua school was to deal with the Demon King. That was to fulfill her promise to the Moonlight Immortal nearly 100,000 years ago. The second time was to protect Ling Xiao at the Martial Arts Festival in the Holy City. This time it was also for Ling Xiao. Chapter 1092. The Moon Maiden's body was trembling slightly. The pain had already swept through her entire body. She was in so much pain that she was about to lose consciousness, but she still stood there, enduring the pain. She had to wait for Ling Xiao to come out. She had once been betrayed by her most trusted disciple. She had suffered even greater pain than losing the Moonlight Heart. The fact that she could muster up the courage to trust Ling Xiao once again was an extremely rare thing. Ling Xiao had given her hope. She didn't want to give up. In the forbidden area, Ling Xiao felt his heart beating so fast that it felt like it was going to jump out. Something seemed to have happened, and he was very concerned about this kind of thing. He felt heartache, but he didn't know what the reason was, so he quickened his pace. With the help of Xieli, the door of the blood mirror pool slowly opened. Perhaps he was worried that Timur Mutu would return, so Xieli walked in front. Ling Xiao didn't object. After all, in terms of current strength, Xieli was much stronger than him. Even in the face of the seriously injured Timur Mutu, Xieli could definitely fight him. However, when the door opened, Ling Xiao didn't see Timur Mutu. Instead, he saw a beautiful figure. This figure had haunted his dreams countless times since he came to the divine Phoenix continent. He had heard this figure countless times in his sleep. Sister Moon Maiden. Ling Xiao rushed out from behind Xieli and hugged the Moon Maiden in his arms. It was as if they were separated from a long-lost relative. Surprise! Peace of mind! In front of the Moon Maiden, Ling Xiao felt that he could be a normal person again. He no longer felt any pressure. He didn't need to think about anything. He could just be a 16-year-old boy. This child is not afraid of being laughed at. The Moon Lady smiled and gently patted Ling Xiao's back. Her gentleness was tinged with trembling. "No, Sister Moon Maiden, what's wrong with you?" Ling Xiao's senses were so sensitive. The moment he touched the Moon Maiden, he felt that something was wrong with her. "I'm fine. What about you?" The Moon Maiden forced a smile, but it was really forced. Nonsense. Ling Xiao wasn't an idiot. How could he not tell that the Moon Lady was enduring the pain? He looked back at Cieli and said, "These are my friends. Arrange for them to rest first. I'm going to the blood mirror pool again." After saying that, Ling Xiao dragged the Moon Maiden into the blood mirror pool. He had absorbed the Tai Chi ball in the blood mirror pool, but there was still a passage with pool water that could heal all kinds of injuries. This time it was naturally to find that thing. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at the scene, all extremely shocked. Who was the Moon Lady? That was an existence that could destroy hundreds of thousands of lives with a flick of a finger. Why did she feel like an obedient little wife in front of Ling Xiao? When Ling Xiao held her hand, she didn't resist at all. Where did this Ling Xiao come from? "Ling Xiao, where are you taking me?" The Moon Maiden asked with a bitter smile. "Go to a good place," Ling Xiao said as he walked, but his tone was a little cold. "Are you angry?" The Moon Maiden asked with a smile, although it wasn't easy to smile. "Yes, I'm angry. This problem of yours definitely didn't form in a day or two. What's going on? Why didn't you tell me before?" Ling Xiao's cold voice showed that he was really angry. "It's not that I don't want to tell you, but even if I did, it would be useless." The Moon Maiden smiled bitterly. She was really afraid that Ling Xiao would be angry. She didn't know why, but she didn't even blink when facing a powerhouse like Timur Mutu. Facing hundreds of thousands of troops, she could coldly and mercilessly kill them with a wave of her hand. But facing Ling Xiao, she was really a little cautious. Perhaps it was because she felt that this was a man worth protecting from the bottom of her heart. "How do you know it's useless if you don't tell me?" Ling Xiao sighed and said, "Sister Moon Maiden, when I said that I wanted to marry you and become your man, did you think I was joking? That's right, I haven't met the conditions you gave me yet, but I'm working hard, very hard. I like you, and I won't allow you to be hurt in any way." The Moon Maiden smiled, feeling very sweet in her heart. "Smile. You still have the cheek to smile? Why did you come here from the heavenly dragon continent?" Just like how the Moon Maiden couldn't be angry with Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao really couldn't be angry with the Moon Maiden. His anger just now was just an act. He liked this woman so much. So how could he bear to be angry with her? "Of course it's because I'm worried about you, you little lunatic," the Moon Maiden said with a smile. "Oh, don't you know how to feel sorry for yourself? You're always going against those enemies who are stronger than you. I'm really worried about you." Ling Xiao shook his head and said, "Sister Moon Maiden, this is indeed dangerous, but if I don't resist, I'll die in a daze like those beggars on the streets. I've seen too many of such things." Why wasn't he willing to suffer? Why wasn't he willing to compromise? Why wasn't he willing to endure? This had something to do with what happened when he was young. Back then, there were 2 beggars in the beggar sect in Tianfeng City who were bullied by a noble young master. I chose to compromise, chose to endure and cower. In the end, he was tortured to death by the noble young master. He chose to resist, and he killed the noble young master. In the end, he was beaten to death by the noble young master's family. Although both of them died, Ling Xiao still felt that B's death was more valuable. Even before he died, he dragged someone down with him and killed his enemy, but it was too cowardly. Because of this, Ling Xiao had always lived according to B's method. Of course, he didn't want to die, so he had to become stronger than B. He had to become able to protect himself. "Sister Moon Maiden, This should be the blood mirror pool that the Scorpion Man King uses to heal and cultivate. Let's see if it can relieve your pain. Soon, Ling Xiao brought the Moon Maiden to the blood mirror pool. There was indeed a pool of blood-red water in the blood mirror pool. There was also a mirror, which was the blood mirror. The Moon Maiden took off her outer clothes and stepped into the blood mirror pool with only her undergarments in an attempt to relieve the pain. It's really effective. The Moon Maiden heaved a sigh of relief. Ling Xiao also heaved a sigh of relief. He really couldn't bear to watch the woman he loved suffer in front of him. But as Ling Xiao sat there, he was thinking further ahead. The water in the blood mirror pool was limited. Once it was used up, it would be gone. Then, how would the Moon Maiden avoid the pain and torture in the future? Would she have to go back and stay in the palace of the Yuehua school? Of course, it was also possible to find the Moonlight Heart, but that was too far away. He didn't know when it would happen. For the Moon Maiden, he had to create a moon. Ling Xiao's thoughts became clear. In the mountain river world, day and night alternated. However, there was sun during the day, but it was pitch black at night. There was nothing. Since that was the case, he might as well create a bright moon in the middle of the night. Chapter 1093. Creating the Moon. This wasn't impossible. After all, Dai had been born. Moreover, Ling Xiao now understood that a martial soul could be upgraded through his own efforts. Sister Moon Maiden, do you mind if I absorb some of your yin-yang origin energy? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. Do as you wish. The Moon Maiden believed that Ling Xiao wouldn't harm her. If Ling Xiao also wanted to harm her, then so be it. In this life, there were 3 people she trusted the most. One was the Yuehua immortal, the other was her disciple Yihua, and the last one was Ling Xiao. The Moonlight Immortal was nowhere to be found. Her disciple, Yihua, had betrayed her. If she was betrayed by Ling Xiao again, she felt that her life was meaningless. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't know this. He didn't need to know. What he did was for the good of the Moon Maiden. That was enough. His goal was to use the Moon Maiden's yin-yang origin energy to condense the embryonic form of the moon. Once the embryonic form was formed, the rest would be easy. As the Moon Maiden's yin-yang origin energy continued to enter his mountain river martial soul, a glimmer of light appeared in the dark night sky. Although it didn't look like a moon yet, the embryonic form had already appeared. I'm sorry, Senior Brother Wu Xiang. For the sake of Sister Moon Maiden, I can only use the Moonlight Treasure Ship that you gave me. The Moonlight Treasure Ship was the Yuehua School's most precious treasure. Although it wasn't good at attacking, it was very useful for traveling. Of course, the most important thing was that it was made of moon wood that had condensed the essence of the moon. It was very effective in condensing the moon in the mountain river world. Just as Ling Xiao expected, as the Moonlight Treasure Ship shrank and disappeared, the glimmer of light finally formed the shape of a crescent moon. The Moon Maiden soaked in the blood pool, while Ling Xiao sat there cross-legged, constantly extracting water from the blood pool to strengthen the crescent moon. Time continued to pass. Outside the forbidden area, Xia Li had been elected as the new Scorpion King by the Scorpion people and buried the one who had died in the battle. It took a full day and night. When the sun rose from the east, the door of the blood mirror pool finally opened. The Moon Maiden held onto Ling Xiao's arm and walked out. The 16-year-old youth was much taller than the average youth because he had been practicing martial arts for a long time. He was already about 8 meters tall. She was holy and noble. The man was an extraordinary hero. They're simply a match made in heaven. People couldn't help but exclaim in their hearts. Although many people still didn't know what the relationship between Ling Xiao and the Moon Lady was, even a fool would be able to guess what was going on from the fact that the Moon Lady had killed Timur Mutu out of anger to how close the two of them were now. Of course, the full moon in Ling Xiao's mountain river martial soul had already formed, so there was a strange connection between it and the Moon Lady's body. This made everyone even more certain of their relationship. Looking at this scene, Xia Li could not help but feel a little jealous and helpless. She had once thought that once her cultivation reached the Yinyang realm, she might be worthy of this heroic young man. As long as she was willing, Ling Xiao would definitely fall in love with her. But now, it seemed that she had been overthinking things. In terms of appearance, she was inferior to the Moon Maiden. In terms of strength, she was also inferior to the Moon Maiden. How could she compare with the Moon Maiden? Master! Cold Plum stepped forward and greeted him. Perhaps only Cold Plum had never thought of such a thing. She only wanted to be by Ling Xiao's side forever and protect Ling Xiao. That was enough. Haim Mian-Ko could not help but sigh. In the past, she was the Holy Sun, but Ling Xiao had never thought highly of her. She did not understand why at that time, but now she suddenly understood. His woman was so much better than hers. Her thoughts were nothing but improper thoughts. Young master, what do you plan to do next? Xia Li recovered from her disappointment. After all, she was now the queen of the Scorpion Men tribe. She could not always immerse herself in love. Return to the northern desert city, Ling Xiao said. Speaking of this, Ling Xiao glanced at the devastated Scorpion Men tribe and said, "Why don't you come with me? Ji Ning in the northern desert city is my good friend. The living conditions there are much better than here. Moreover, you Scorpion Men have offended the Black Crow Empire this time. If they are determined to destroy you, it will be safer to go to the northern desert city. Is it really okay?" Xia Li said worriedly, "The people of the Divine Phoenix Empire are not so friendly to us Scorpion Men. You can rest assured. I can't guarantee the safety of the people in other places, but the northern desert city is fine." Ling Xiao explained, "That's fine. It just so happens that I also wish to escort young master. If we can really settle down there, we'll stay. If not, we'll just leave." Xia Li nodded and said, "Let's go. Our destination is the northern desert city." Looking at Timur Armutu's head, Ling Xiao couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Not only did he capture Qimojian alive, but he also killed Timur Armutu. This time he would like to see what General Jia, who occupied the northern desert city, had to say. "Sister Moon Maiden, hold my waist tightly. We should go now." Ling Xiao stepped on the back of a demon wolf and patted the Moon Maiden's hand gently. The Moon Maiden felt the most comfortable staying by his side now, because she could feel the power of the moon at all times. Not only did her cultivation recover faster, but she also did not have to suffer anymore. Of course, the Moon Maiden did not have to stay by Ling Xiao's side all the time. The pain would only begin after she left the moonlight. Therefore, it was not a problem to stay with Ling Xiao for a period of time. It was just that it was obviously more comfortable now. The Moon Maiden no longer looked like an expert who had killed hundreds of thousands of Black Crow army with a snap of her fingers. She had completely become Ling Xiao's little wife. Although she had not recognized Ling Xiao's strength, she had already recognized Ling Xiao as a person. Perhaps this time he wasn't mistaken. Yellow sand, old trees, and dusk crows. Ancient west wind warhorses. The sun was setting. A group of thousands of warriors galloped toward the northern desert city in an orderly manner. On the demon wolf in the lead, there was a young man with a cold and determined face. Behind him, a fairy-like woman gently wrapped her arms around his waist. Her face was filled with happiness and peace. The wind blew, and her long hair danced. It was like an ink painting in the hands of a master. Solemn, tense, high fighting spirit. This painting had the tenderness of the human world and the passion of the battlefield. Everyone had their own stories, and they would write even more beautiful stories in the days to come. Suddenly, two figures appeared in front of them. The young man stretched out his right hand and signaled everyone to stop. "Boss, there's a situation." One of them said, "Speak." The Northern Desert Pass and Northern Desert City seem to have been occupied by the Imperial Army. There's danger everywhere along the way. the other person replied. Upon hearing this, Ling Xiao's face turned gloomy. Chapter 1094. I wonder how Jining, Qinhua, and the others are doing. Everyone listen up. Speed up. If you encounter an attack, don't ask me. Attack immediately. Kill without mercy. Ling Xiao felt the seriousness of the situation. It was very likely that Jining, Qinhua, and the others had been captured. The team continued to move forward at an even faster speed. Moreover, they displayed the banner of the Northern Desert City's Dark Thorn Special Forces. Ling Xiao did not want to give the other party any excuse to blame him. 2 hours later, they could already see the outline of the Northern Desert City and the Northern Desert Pass. Ling Xiao's taiji, I could see everything around him. There was indeed an ambush, and there were quite a few of them. Listen up. I am Ling Xiao, the military governor appointed by the emperor, the captain of the Northern Desert Army's Dark Thorn Special Forces. Ling Xiao sped up as he flashed his waist token and shouted loudly. However, there was no response. Ling Xiao even saw mocking smiles in the taiji eye. Although he had guessed this before, he still could not help but feel heartache when he saw it. The way the Divine Phoenix Empire treated a meritorious subject was really chilling. He did not say anything else, but sped up. Since there was an ambush here, then Jining, Qinhua, LV Chenglong, Li Ruguang, Zhang Yufei, Zhu Geming, and the others were most likely trapped in a cage. As for Feng Qingyan, he had a special identity. Unless the emperor wanted to completely fall out with the fiery phoenix tribe, he should not be in any danger. You must catch up. Ling Xiao was extremely anxious. The moment thousands of martial artists entered the ambush, a buzzing sound suddenly resounded in the sky. Thousands of arrows pierced through the air. Ling Xiao did not do anything. He continued to speed up on his demon wolf. Xia Li had already soared into the sky and pressed down with his palms. The arrows flying in the air actually flew back. Then there were continuous screams. Ling Xiao did not need to do anything. Xia Li alone was enough to deal with those trash. What they needed to do now was to hurry. Ling Xiao did not have the slightest bit of sympathy for those who had been killed. He had already revealed his identity, but the other party did not come out to verify his identity. Instead, they directly fired arrows. He wasn't that pedantic. Since you've shot arrows, that means you want to be my enemy. There's nothing wrong with me killing you. Leave one alive. Haim, Miankeo suddenly said. Xia Li threw a man into Haim, Miankeo's hand. This person was wearing Divine Phoenix Empire's armor, and from the looks of it, his position wasn't low. He was at least a centurion. Who told you to set up an ambush here? Haim, Miankeo asked coldly. I don't know. That person was stubborn. He turned his head and didn't say anything. Haim, Miankeo laughed coldly and stabbed the man in the throat. In that instant, the centurion's eyes were filled with regret. He thought that the other party would interrogate him and give him some benefits, but he didn't expect the other party to be so straightforward. However, Haim Miankeo did not care because there were ambushes along the way. Even if 1 or 2 people did not say anything, she did not believe that everyone would not say anything. Xia Li continued to kill. Haim Miankeo kept interrogating. Those who did not answer were killed without the slightest mercy. This was a battlefield, not a game. Mercy and sympathy for the enemy might be exchanged for the death of oneself or one's friends. When they were close to Northern Desert City, Ling Xiao ordered Xia Li to wait outside the city for the time being, while he led the Moon Lady and the Dark Assassins to the city. Ling Xiao was very clear that there were absolutely no survivors along the way, so the garrison in Northern Desert City certainly did not know the actual situation. Leaving Xia Li and nearly 1,000 scorpion men outside to provide support was the best choice. Once there was an unforeseen event, they would be able to seize the initiative. Open the city. Standing outside the city, Ling Xiao roared at the soldiers on the city wall. At this time, General Jia and Jia Yin were nowhere to be seen. Only some unfamiliar faces were left. "Who are you?" "Ling Xiao." Ling Xiao introduced himself. "Oh, it's General Ling. We have been waiting for a long time. Open the door." The general on top of the city gate curled his lips into a cold smile and then opened the city gate. Ling Xiao and the others walked into the city gate, and the gate was closed again. As soon as Ling Xiao entered Northern Desert City, he found that they were surrounded. At this time, there were about 10,000 garrison troops in Northern Desert City, and all of them were present. The archers were on the city wall. The cavalry and infantry surrounded them. "What do you want?" Ling Xiao asked coldly. "Under General Jia's order. We are here to wait for the traitor Ling Xiao." On the city wall, a general walked down slowly. He was at the early stage of 10 Directions Heaven. It was difficult for Ling Xiao to defeat him. However, today, Ling Xiao did not take the 10 Directions Heaven martial artist seriously at all. "Traitor?" Ling Xiao sneered and said, "I chased after Tomohiko Kuma and Timur Mutu for thousands of miles. Now that I am back with Timur Mutu's head, you are saying that I am a traitor?" When the general saw this, he was surprised and happy. He was surprised that Ling Xiao was able to take back Timur Mutu's head. This was simply a miracle. They did not even think about it. He was happy that he could now make a great contribution. "Ling Xiao, hand over the head. I can give you a quick death on account of your surrender. Otherwise, you will die without a burial place." The general sneered. "Impossible." Ling Xiao shook his head. "Hee. You will die whether you hand it over or not. Do it. Pay attention to protect Timur Mutu's head. As for the rest, kill without mercy." The general gave the order, and a cold smile appeared on his face. He started to imagine that if he brought back Ling Xiao and Timur Mutu's heads and asked for a reward, he would definitely be rewarded handsomely. With a high position and a generous salary, he could get whatever he wanted. At the command, the sound of arrows could be heard from the city walls. Like a swarm of locusts, they pounced toward Ling Xiao and the dozens of dark assassins. This was only the first wave of attack. Their most powerful attack was naturally the cavalry and infantrymen that followed. "You are courting death." Ling Xiao snorted and leaped up. The golden crow sword in his hand emitted a golden light. A giant golden crow that was dozens of times bigger than before landed in the Northern Desert City. Golden crow, rising sun, raging fire burning the city, golden crow massacre. With just one move, the arrows were burned to ashes. Countless archers were pierced by the scorching sword aura. Their bodies were burning as they fell from the city walls. This scene made all the divine Phoenix soldiers in the city tremble with fear. The information was not right. How could Ling Xiao be so terrifying? How could an ancient martial art practitioner of the 6 heavenly arts release this kind of power? Miserable screams rose and fell continuously. Expressions of fear and despair appeared on the faces that were illuminated by the raging fire. In an instant, more than 200 to 300 archers died, and more than 1,000 were burned to death by the fire or fell to their deaths. The fire continued to spread. It was winter. The north wind whistled, and the fire could not be extinguished at all. But the strange thing was that the dark assassins, with Ling Xiao as the center, became a forbidden zone for the fire. Chapter 1095. Quickly extinguish the fire. Quickly. This was no longer a battle between 2 groups of people. It had become a battle between the Northern Desert City's guards and the flames. If the fire could not be extinguished, more people would die, and it was even possible for the entire army to be wiped out. Looking at the godlike Ling Xiao, the Darkthorn soldiers were filled with admiration. Although Ling Xiao's strength was not on the same level as their great general, or even many commanders. But Ling Xiao's improvement was simply too fast. Just one battle had made him so terrifying. No wonder even great General Jining said that he had to protect Ling Xiao no matter what. This person's potential was too terrifying. If he was allowed to continue developing, he would definitely be stronger than those commanders, or even great General Jining. Ling Xiao, why aren't you stopping? Are you still going to persist in going about things the wrong way? Do you really want to become enemies with the entire Divine Phoenix Empire? That general was anxious. Seeing Ling Xiao display such terrifying strength, he simply did not have any thoughts of fighting. His position as a general was obtained through flattery. How could he have experienced any slaughter on the battlefield? Compared to people like Li Ruguang, Zhang Yufei, and Zhu Geming, there was simply no comparison. Facing Ling Xiao, he was naturally terrified. If Divine Phoenix Empire wants me dead, then so what if I destroy them? Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. After he was born, he had never felt the love of his parents, nor had he been pitied or sympathized with by any country. So he had no sense of belonging to any country in this world, including the Sacred Dynasty and Divine Phoenix Empire. They were all the same. He only knew that whoever was good to him, he would be good to them. Furthermore, Divine Phoenix Empire was not his country. So what if it was destroyed? He would not hesitate at all. Crazy. Really crazy. That general looked at Ling Xiao. Only then did he realize that he did not receive a fat job. This was simply a job that would take his life. Block him. You guys escort this general to the Imperial City to report. The general was scared. He did not choose to fight with the rest of the soldiers, but to escape. Another shameless person. Ling Xiao sneered. A red sun all quickly condensed on the tip of his sword and pierced through the air. Bang! There was a loud bang. The general exploded on the warhorse, his body turning into a rain of blood. Death is not to be regretted. Ling Xiao snorted coldly, then looked at the thousands of soldiers who were still alive and asked, "Where is General Jining? What about the hundreds of thousands of soldiers and soldiers? Ling Xiao, do you think we're afraid of you? You'll definitely die if you make Divine Phoenix Empire your enemy. We won't say a word. Kill this traitor." Amidst the raging flames, there were still people shouting that they wanted to kill Ling Xiao. You have guts. Unfortunately, I'm not in a good mood right now. Assassins, listen to my orders. Kill without mercy. At this time, Scorpion Lee was also let in by the members of Dark Thorn. He cooperated with the Dark Thorn to start a massacre. This battle was a must, because only by going through this battle would these people truly belong to Ling Xiao, and not the Scorpion Men tribe or the Divine Phoenix Empire. Thousands of people died in an instant due to the massacre and the burning of the fire. In the end, only one person survived because he finally said what Ling Xiao wanted to know out of fear. Just a day ago, General Jining and the others were escorted to the Imperial City to be sentenced. Of course, their captivity was exchanged for hundreds of thousands of soldiers and soldiers who fled to the depths of the desert. Currently, General Jia is leading his troops to search for them. Very good. Give him a quick death. Ling Xiao glanced at that person indifferently, then said to Scorpion Lee, "Scorpion Lee, listen to my orders. You guys will be stationed in Northern Desert City temporarily and search for the hundreds of thousands of soldiers and soldiers. 2 of the Dark Thorn's men will stay behind to assist. The rest will follow me to the Imperial City to rescue them. Young master, what should we do after we find them? Settle down first. This place is not far from the Imperial City. If we need anything, we'll send someone to contact them." Ling Xiao did not intend to attack the Imperial City now because there were too few people. Among the hundreds of thousands of soldiers and soldiers, there were only slightly more than 30,000 who could fight. The rest were ordinary people who could do logistics. If they really fought, they would be courting death. Moreover, he now had the Moon Lady, a killer weapon, who was comparable to hundreds of thousands of soldiers. It would be fine even if he did not bring the army to the Imperial City. Moreover, the situation might not have reached the point where they had to fight. Even if they were the Dark Thorn, He planned to let them disguise themselves as ordinary people and sneak into the city, waiting for an opportunity to take action. Naturally, he only needed the Moon Lady, Cold Plum, and Haim Myung-ko. Scorpion Li had to stay. After all, General Jia was not weak. Although he was not a Yin-Yang realm expert, only Scorpion Li could suppress him. Otherwise, Ling Xiao really wanted to bring Scorpion Li with him. Naturally, he would be more confident in rescuing them. This trip to the Imperial City is very dangerous. If anyone is unwilling to go, I, Ling Xiao, will not force you. You can leave the team now and stay in Northern Desert City. Ling Xiao looked back at the soldiers of the Dark Thorn and said loudly. No one spoke. Everyone in the Dark Thorn had a determined expression on their faces. They were angry. They were sad. They were unwilling. Tens of thousands of soldiers shed their blood on the battlefield, defeated the army of the Black Crow Empire, and defended Northern Desert City. In the end, they even captured the little prince of the Black Crow Empire, Tomohiko Kuma, alive, and killed the Grand Preceptor of the Black Crow Empire, Timur Mutu. The war was won. It was a complete victory. But what was the result? Ji Ning, Zhu Geming, Zhang Yufei, Li Ruguang, and LV Chenglong were captured. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Ling Xiao chased the enemy for thousands of miles, but he was convicted of treason. This was humiliation, more resentment. If they could not clear their names, how could they be at ease? Good. We are all good men. Since this is the case, let's split up. You will disguise yourselves as civilians and sneak into the Imperial City and wait for my orders. We are loyal to this country. But if this country betrays us, then we will destroy it. We will listen to boss's orders. Uniform voices sounded. From this moment onwards, the soldiers of the Dark Thorn had changed from being loyal to the Imperial City to being loyal to themselves and to justice. If it was in the past, they might not be willing to betray the country and the Imperial City, even if they were to die. But it was different now. If the Emperor wanted his subjects to die, would the subjects really have to die? If the Emperor broke the law, he would be punished the same as the civilians. They could not risk their lives for an emperor who betrayed them. That was not loyalty, that was stupidity. In the prison, Ji Ning, LV Chenglong, Li Ruguang, Zhang Yufei, and Zhu Geming were being interrogated. The specially processed torture instruments were tested on their bodies one after another. Ji Ning was covered in blood. LV Chenglong was blind in one eye. Li Ruguang's leg bones were shattered. Zhang Yufei's arm was missing. Zhu Geming's ears were also chopped off. The cruel torturer's only goal was to make them admit their guilt. They were not willing, even if they had to die. They would not let the enemy have their way. Qin Hua, Meng Tong, and Exen had not been in the Northern Desert Army for long, so they were lucky not to be punished. Ji Ning handed the Northern Desert Army over to them. Of course, there were also the hundreds of thousands of civilians. Chapter 1096. Within the Imperial City, notices were posted everywhere. On them were the portraits of Ji Ning and the others, including Ling Xiao, Haim Myung-ko, and Cold Plum. Below the portraits of Ji Ning and the other generals were the crimes and the time of their execution. Treason, improper command, causing the deaths of tens of thousands of soldiers, attempting to ambush the great General Sikong Zun, and so on. In short, any of these crimes were punishable by death. Below the portraits of Ling Xiao, Haim Myung-ko, and Cold Plum were bounties. The crimes stated that they were spies of the Black Crow Empire and that the defeat this time was their fault. Due to the stagnation of the news and the lockdown by the imperial family, the news of the Northern Desert City successfully defeating the Black Crow Empire's army did not spread. Therefore, the news that the people here knew was a completely different version. The Northern Desert Army was almost completely annihilated and the Black Crow Empire was blocked by General Jia. Only then did they solve the big problem and protect the peace of the Divine Phoenix Empire. In front of every notice, there was a boiling cauldron of voices and discussions. I didn't expect Ji Ning to be this kind of person. He colluded with the Black Crow Empire and caused the deaths of so many of our soldiers. He deserves to die. Yes, he should be executed by 1,000 cuts. And that Ling Shao, he fled from the Sky Dragon continent to our divine Phoenix Empire. We gave him so many benefits, but he actually ran away with the Black Crow Empire. He's simply a shameless bastard. Impossible. How could the great general betray the Empire? There must be a misunderstanding here. Beat him up, and he actually dares to speak up for that traitor. He caused the deaths of so many people, and he still supports him. The entire imperial city was filled with this kind of atmosphere. You must insult Jining. You must insult Ling Shao. You must criticize them. Otherwise, you would be in cahoots with them. You would be a bastard who colluded with the enemy and betrayed the empire. Any slightly rational voice would be suppressed very quickly. Those who spoke rationally would even be beaten up until they were half dead. The atmosphere in the imperial city was the same. Jining and Ling Shao were the sinners of the empire, while General Jia and Sikongzun were the heroes of the empire. In the prison, Sikongzun suddenly appeared and looked at Jining, who had been tortured beyond recognition. He sneered and said, "Jining, why do you have to do this? Look at the scene outside. No one believes that you are innocent, and no one believes that Ling Shao went to kill Tomohiko-kuma. You're all traitors. You're all rebels. As for me, I'm the hero of this country. I fought my way out of the encirclement alone." Ha 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 ha. Bah, shameless. Li Ruguang cursed loudly. Commander Li, don't be angry at this kind of person. He won't be proud for long. Ling Shao won't die. He will definitely come back to avenge us. Sikongzun, are you scared? Zhuge Ming sneered. Scared? Sikongzun said disdainfully, "From the northern desert to the imperial city, our people have been investigating. Even if Ling Shao doesn't die, he won't be able to return to the imperial city alive. Even if we take 10,000 steps back, he is a person with a bounty of more than 100 million low-grade spiritual stones. Do you think he can still survive after coming to the imperial city?" Jining took a deep breath. His voice was weak, but his eyes were still determined. "Sikongzun, before I die, I just want to ask you one thing. Was this your idea or the Emperor's?" Sikongzun smiled and said, "Jining, oh Jining, you have lived for so long. How can you still be so naive? Do you really think that I can distort the truth and turn a deer into a horse?" "I understand." A sinister smile suddenly appeared on Jining's face. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. To think that I, Jining, was so loyal to the divine Phoenix Empire and the Righteous Alliance. In the end, I actually ended up like this. If I don't die, I will definitely make the people who plotted against me pay the price. Definitely. All right, stop shouting. You don't have that chance anymore. Whether you admit to your crimes or not, the people have already determined that you are guilty. Do you know how the Emperor plans to punish you?" Sikongzun suddenly asked with a smile. Without waiting for Jining to say anything, Sikongzun continued, "The Emperor has given the people of the imperial city the right to take a piece of your flesh. Haha, not bad, right? This kind of death, by 1,000 cuts, suits your life." "Bastard!" Li Ruguang roared. "Are you still human? How dare you torture a general who has contributed greatly to the empire? Go ahead and curse. You won't have the energy to curse later. There's no need to interrogate them. Take them to the execution ground now. The Emperor has said that these people have many henchmen. To prevent any unforeseen circumstances, the execution should be brought forward." Sikongzun sneered and walked out of the prison. He was in an extremely good mood. 3 people stood on the city wall. One of them was the Phoenix Army commander of the 9 gates of the imperial city. The other 2 were Jia Yun and the city lord of Border City, Jia Lin. Jia Lin was Jia Yun's father. He was also the one who led the troops to block the Northern Desert Army's escape route and captured Jining and the others to the imperial city. "Father, I don't understand. Didn't the Emperor send you to capture Jining's defeated soldiers?" Why are you here? At this time, Jia Yin was wearing a suit of armor. He also had a bit of heroic spirit. Xiao Yin, you're still too inexperienced. It's difficult to find them in the vast desert when I led the troops to capture them. Besides, even if I did find them, what good would it do to kill them? Jia Lin sneered. But it's different if you stay here. Your father is now the commander of the Imperial City Barracks, appointed by the Emperor himself. I'll deal with any rebels who attack the Imperial City. Father, do you mean those guys will come to save Jining? Jia Yun frowned. That's impossible, father. They can't wait to escape. You don't understand those people. Although the civilians won't come, the remaining 30,000 Northern Desert Army will definitely come. They're too close to Jining. As long as they can confirm the safety of the civilians, they'll immediately come to the Imperial City. Jia Lin said confidently. When they arrive, we'll kill them all. In this way, not only will we be above board, but we'll also have a great merit. Don't you think we're just waiting for the enemy to come to us? A cold smile appeared on Jia Lin's face. He might not be as good as Jining in battle, but when it came to scheming, Jining was definitely not his match. Brilliant. As expected of father, this is a brilliant move. I really hope that Ling Xiao can also appear. If he can kill Ling Xiao in front of everyone, that would be great. Jia Yin said excitedly. Him. Haha, he won't be able to survive. Facing Tomohiko Kuma, Timur Mutu, Fengzhan, and the Scorpion Men and Lizard Men, he won't be able to survive. Jia Lin said disdainfully. Even if he does survive, I and General Sikong Zun have set up many ambushes along the way. He won't be able to make it to the Imperial City alive. Chapter 1097. What a pity. Your son wanted to personally end that scoundrel. Jia Yun really felt a little regretful. Now, because he had helped to capture Jining and the other guilty officials, he had been conferred the title of Vice Commander of the Imperial Guards by the Emperor. Although this was only an empty post, he could still mobilize many Imperial Guards. On top of that, he had already broken through to the 9th heavenly layer. Ling Xiao was nothing in his eyes. If Ling Xiao were to appear in front of him right now, he was certain that he could easily take Ling Xiao's dog life. Commander, we've discovered traces of the Northern Desert Army, 10 li from the Imperial City. Their leader is Qin Hua. A messenger suddenly came to report. Good, just in time. Jia Lin's lips curled into a cold smile. Lord Commander really has godlike foresight. This one admires you. A phoenix cry, soldier hastily said. Although he was the commander of the 9 gates, a rather high status, his cultivation was far inferior to Jia Lin's. Moreover, Jia Lin currently had a very high status in the Righteous Alliance. After Jining was captured, Jia Lin's Jia clan could be said to be able to cover the sky with one hand. For him to be subservient to Jia Lin was extremely normal. Haha, Lord Commander, there's no need to be polite. The merit belongs to all of us, so how could I dare to covet it? Jia Lin chuckled. Unlike Jining, he knew how to conduct himself. It was precisely because he had the support of the Divine Phoenix Empire's imperial household that his Jia clan could cover the sky with one hand in the Righteous Alliance. He was keenly aware of this point. Yellow sand filled the air. The army was advancing toward the Imperial City. The faces of all the officers and soldiers were filled with indignation and determination. They would rather die than do nothing. Since there was no justice to speak of in this world, they would fight for it with their own hands. If no one dared to spill their blood, no one would resist. Justice and justice were not something that could be achieved by words alone. It was something that required blood and sacrifice. All of them, including Qin Hua, were keenly aware that there was no chance of survival, but if they did not go, they would not be able to forgive themselves. They would also be letting down their own conscience. When Jining and the others were taken away, they had asked Jia Lin if there was any justice in this world. Was there still any law? At that time, Jia Lin only looked at them with a cold smile and said something that they would never forget. Justice? Justice? There was only strength in this world. Power. There's no such thing as justice. A bunch of idiots. That's right, they were idiots. Only at that moment did they realize that the thing they had been searching for was actually so elusive. However, it wasn't that there was no justice in this world. It was just that there were people who were rotten from the roots. The entire Divine Phoenix Imperial Court was rotten and depraved. 9 li away from the Imperial City, on top of the city wall, Jia Lin looked coldly into the distance. The black mass of the Northern Desert Army was marching towards them. There were less than 30,000 people, so there should still be some left to protect the civilians. It was a bit of a pity, but it was enough. After killing these rebels, they would have a reason to kill the rest of the soldiers and civilians. Archers, prepare! Jia Lin waved his hand lightly as he watched the other party gradually enter their shooting range. He realized that his heart was trembling uncontrollably. After so many years, he could finally trample Jining beneath his feet. Rumble. The rumbling sounds from the army were getting closer and closer. 5 li. General, they have stopped. They're just outside the shooting range of the archers and the array. 1 li away, the army suddenly stopped. Jia Lin was stunned for a moment. Jia Yun frowned as well. What was going on? Jia Lin wanted to see the situation in the distance clearly, but the army was too big. More than 20,000 people was not a small number. He couldn't see what was happening in the army. Don't panic. Since they are here, they will definitely take action. Let's wait here. Although Jia Lin was confused, he believed in his judgment. The other party couldn't have come to the Imperial City to watch the show. They must be here to save people. Since that was the case, they just had to wait. In the Northern Desert Army. Young Master, you are still alive. That's great. Qin Hua, Meng Tong, and Xian all knelt on the ground. They were so excited that their eyes were brimming with tears. Don't be too excited. The 3 of you can get up. How is the general? Ling Xiao asked. According to Vice Principal Feng Qinyan, there's a lot of resentment in the city. They think the general is a traitor who colluded with the enemy. He will probably be executed today. Qin Hua said excitedly, We didn't want to attack so rashly, but if the general dies so carelessly, we will feel uneasy. I know. If it was me, I would do the same. Ling Xiao nodded and said, Death by dismemberment? Sikongzun, that old dog, is really ruthless. Young Master, since you are here, the army will still be under your command. When the general was taken away, he said that as long as you come back, you will be the 2nd city lord of the Northern Desert City. Qin Hua said, Let's not talk about this first. Let everyone set up camp. Let's try peaceful means before resorting to force. Now that I am back, there is enough evidence to prove that General Jining is innocent. So, it is not the time to use force. Ling Xiao was not interested in the position of city lord. He rushed back to the Imperial City in such a hurry to save Jining and the others. Fortunately, he was not too late. He was very glad. As long as Jining and the others were not dead, he would definitely find a way to save them. Young Master, what else is there to say? Let's just kill our way in. Meng Tong said loudly, Kill our way in? Do you know how many guards there are in the Imperial City? Do you know how many powerful defensive formations there are? Do you want to kill more than 20,000 people? Ling Xiao said snappily, Not only do you have to be brave, you also have to use your brain. You should learn from Qin Hua. Young Master, tell us what to do. We will listen to you. Qin Hua said, Tell everyone to rest here and make a fire to cook. We have traveled a long way. Even if we want to attack, we have to preserve our strength. We are at a disadvantage now. Ling Xiao waved his hand and gave the last batch of rejuvenation pills and spirit reversal pills to Qin Hua and the others. He said, Distribute them. We have to prepare for the worst. He knew very well that reason might not work. Even if he took Timur Muda's head and captured Tomohiko Kuma alive, he might not be able to see the enemy or the crown prince, Feng Yinshan. If he could not see them, everything would be meaningless. Jia Lin and the others on the city gate tower would not let them enter the city alive. He had to be prepared for a tough battle. In addition, he had to wait for the arrival of Xia Li and the Scorpion Men. Since Jia Lin did not pursue the 100,000 people, Xia Li would definitely come here. With Xia Li, there would be one more Yinyang realm expert. If they really fought head-on, they might not lose. The Northern Desert Army admired Ling Xiao as much as Jining. They would carry out Ling Xiao's orders without question, regardless of whether they understood it or not. After all, this young man led more than 30,000 people and successfully drove away more than 1 million soldiers from the Black Crow Empire. Even General Jining did not have such a glorious record. He was too strong. Chapter 1098. It's him. He's actually still alive. On the city wall, Jia Yun finally saw the domineering and arrogant figure clearly. Ling Xiao. Jia Yun's expression became very interesting. Anger, viciousness, rage. All kinds of emotions seemed to have gathered on his face. Ling Xiao ignored Jia Yun. He rode his demonic wolf and arrived at the city gates. He looked at Jia Lin, who was on the city gate tower, and said, "General Jia, I have chased the enemy for thousands of miles. Now that I have returned victorious, I hope you can open the city gates quickly." His voice was very loud. He wanted all the onlookers in the city to hear and see. He wanted the soldiers to understand. He, Ling Xiao, was not a traitor. He was a hero. As he spoke, he raised Timur Muda's head. The head of the Black Crow Empire's Grand Tutor Timur Mutu is here. General Jia should recognize this person, right? Hearing this, the soldiers on the city wall were shocked. They had naturally heard of Timur Muda's name and recognized his face. After all, he was a person whose fame spread far and wide. The soldiers probably didn't know anything at all. They were just following orders. Therefore, Ling Xiao didn't have much hatred for them. The situation was a little strange. The soldiers heard from their superiors that Ling Xiao was a traitor and deserved to die. However, now that Ling Xiao had returned with Timur Muda's head, what should they say? Could it be that their superiors had made a mistake? For a moment, they were all confused. Jia Lin sneered and said loudly, "Listen up. The evidence of Ling Xiao's treason is very conclusive. Now that he has suddenly returned, it is clear that he is opening a path for the Black Crow Empire. Perhaps the Black Crow Empire's army is nearby. As for that head, he could easily hire a powerful disguised master to create it. Everyone, don't be fooled by this scoundrel. Archers, formation soldiers, and puppet soldiers, get ready. This Ling Xiao is unforgivable. We must not let him go." The soldiers did not know anything, but they were more willing to believe Jia Lin's words. After all, Jia Lin was their commander and a general appointed by the emperor himself. Moreover, with Ling Xiao's ability, how could he kill Timur Mutu? They didn't believe it at all. How shameless! Ling Xiao looked at Jia Lin coldly and said, "Jia Lin, by doing this, aren't you afraid that the emperor will blame you when he proves that I'm not a traitor and that I did kill Timur Mutu? Rest assured, if I find out in the future that I've made a mistake, this Jia will definitely kowtow in front of Overseer Ling's grave and apologize. But today you colluded with the rebels to attack the imperial city. This general is responsible for the safety of the imperial city, so how can I let you in?" Jia Lin chuckled. "Of course, if you don't want to die, you can also surrender. Since you believe that you are innocent, you can come with us. That way you can clear your name." Hearing this, Ling Xiao immediately scolded. "Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I'll be able to survive if I go with you? Great General Ji Ning trusted a shameless person like you too much. Otherwise, with his strength, How could he be captured by a shameless person like you? Humph, since that's the case, don't blame this Jah for being impolite. Phoenix Cry Army, listen to my orders. You are the commander of the 9 gates. Now that there are rebels who want to attack the city, you should know what to do, right? This Jia Lin was also cunning. He was the one who wanted to kill Ling Xiao, but instead he handed the responsibility to the Phoenix Cry Army. Even if something happened, he could easily escape. This subordinate understands. The Phoenix Cry Army's brains weren't as good as Jia Lin's. In addition, he hated Ling Xiao to the bone. In the past, he didn't have the chance to touch Ling Xiao, but today he had such a good reason to kill Ling Xiao. How could he not be tempted? Moreover, he knew that Ling Xiao was one of Feng Yinshan's people, and Feng Yinshan was the person who was competing for the throne with the Ice Phoenix clan's crown prince, Feng Mingqishan. Killing Ling Xiao was equivalent to cutting off one of Feng Yinshan's arms. Since that was the case, why not do it? Attack! Thinking of this, the Phoenix Cry Army no longer hesitated. He raised the command flag and waved it down. Whoosh, whoosh, boom, boom, the arrows, arrays, and puppet mechas attacks began at almost the same time. Retreat first. Ling Xiao waved his hand, and the Moon Lady beside him and himself retreated out of the attack range. The arrays of the Divine Phoenix Empire's imperial city were extremely powerful, even more powerful than those of the northern desert city. Even an expert like the Moon Lady couldn't easily destroy it. It was just like how Timur and Mu Tu were powerless when they faced the array attack of the northern desert city. Ling Xiao, give me 3 days and I will destroy this city, the Moon Lady said. It's too late. Today might be the day of the great general's execution. We must enter the city as soon as possible. Ling Xiao looked at the majestic city and suddenly thought of the destruction of the sacred city. In the heavenly dragon continent, the true demon's empire didn't rely on brute force to capture the sacred city. Instead, they used spies to enter the city. Then he could naturally use the same method. Although the arrays of the imperial city were complex and powerful, such arrays were left behind from the sacred dynasty a long time ago. After experiencing many wars, although they could still be used, there were many flaws and cracks. This gave Ling Xiao enough opportunity to sneak in. Moreover, the people of the Dark Thorn had already sneaked into the city. If they cooperated to destroy those arrays and arrays, the chances of success would be very high. Sister Moon Lady, I will give you a signal later. If Xia Li also arrives at that time, you and Xia Li will attack the city together. The rest of the people don't move. The 2 of you are outsiders, so it's not considered a rebellion. You are just helping me. Remember, be careful. The Moon Lady looked at Ling Xiao and said, Don't worry. Now that my cultivation has improved and I have comprehended a lot of new things, this is nothing at all. After saying that, Ling Xiao suddenly disappeared. The rest of the people pretended to surround him, blocking the line of sight of the people on the city tower. With the shadow step and the shadow armor, Ling Xiao approached the city like a ghost. Then he broke the defensive arrays and slipped into the city. About 15 minutes later, Xia Li led thousands of scorpion men and arrived. At the same time, Ling Xiao also began to move. After entering the city, Ling Xiao contacted the Dark Thorn who had sneaked into the city in advance. Then he taught them the method to temporarily close the arrays and gave them the key materials to close the arrays. Then everyone split up. After all, there were too many arrays. Ling Xiao couldn't handle it alone in a short period of time. He ordered the Dark Thorn to immediately retreat after closing the arrays and head to the execution ground to rescue Jining. Ling Xiao had thought it through very clearly. If the monarch was determined to kill him this time, then he would take this opportunity to destroy the imperial city and kill the monarch. Anyway, it was not difficult to do this with the Moon Lady. However, if the emperor chose to release Jining and the others, he would have to make other plans. After all, it was too risky to destroy the imperial city and kill the emperor. Chapter 1099. Forcefully attacking was too risky, as Ling Xiao still did not know the true strength of the righteous alliance. Moreover, if he angered the 5 Immortals Island and scent experts, it would be even more troublesome. Thus, it was best if this matter could be resolved peacefully. This was also why he had used the excuse of punishing traitors, not saving Jining, and overthrowing the divine Phoenix Empire. There was strength in numbers, and in just a few minutes, more than 100 formations and formations had been completely destroyed. At this time, the assassins had retreated, and Ling Xiao had slipped onto the walls. As Ling Xiao kicked an attacking soldier off the walls, the Moon Lady, Scorpionly, and Cold Plum began to move. Quick! Activate the formation and attack! A phoenix cry soldier loudly roared, but the attackers were only the archers. All the formations and formations had been rendered useless, but these arrows were simply incapable of stopping the Moon Lady, Scorpionly, and Cold Plum. What's going on? Jia Lin, Jia Yin, and the Phoenix Cry soldiers were all dumbfounded. Let me tell you what's going on. Ling Xiao's figure appeared on top of the city gate tower. He calmly looked at Jia Lin and said, General Jia, since you've heard that my northern desert city's magic formation blocked the million-strong army of the Black Raven Empire, why don't you consider whether I'm proficient in magic formations and formations? Kill him. Jia Lin did not listen to Ling Xiao's words, nor did he analyze Ling Xiao's words. Right now, he only wanted Ling Xiao dead. This fellow was far too frightening. How had he managed to sneak onto the walls without him noticing? The Phoenix Cry soldier was the first to charge out. But the moment he charged out, Ling Xiao's sword was pressed against his throat. Today, the Phoenix Cry soldier was no longer a match for Ling Xiao. This person was a martial artist of the 10 directions heaven level. In the past, he might have been able to crush Ling Xiao, but now, Ling Xiao simply did not care about 10 directions heaven martial artists. Was it you who gave the order to kill us? Ling Xiao asked coldly. The Phoenix Cry army froze. He thought that it was because he didn't have the chance to kill Ling Xiao in the past, and that his strength was much stronger than Ling Xiao's. However, it was only now that he realized that the strength he was so proud of was nothing in front of Ling Xiao. He was afraid, because he thought of his daughter. Back then, his daughter had humiliated Ling Xiao's people and even wanted to kill Ling Xiao. In the end, her cultivation was crippled. Could it be that he was also going to walk that old path? You cannot kill me. The heroic spirit of the Phoenix Cry army was completely gone. At this moment, their eyes were filled with terror. Jia Lin also hurried forward and looked coldly at Ling Xiao. He and Ling Xiao had only met twice. The first time was in Northern Desert City, where he had blocked the Northern Desert Army from entering the city. At that time, Ling Xiao had seemed naive and funny, saying that he wanted to take Tomohiko Kuma's head. This time, it was here that he suddenly felt that he might have underestimated this guy too much. This Ling Xiao might be much more terrifying and cunning than he had imagined. He suddenly smiled and said, Military Governor Ling is indeed powerful, but the Phoenix Cry army is the 9 Gates inspector appointed by the Emperor Lord. If you kill him, it will be the same as slapping the Emperor Lord. I think this might be a misunderstanding. Military Governor Ling has such ability, but he didn't let the people of the Black Crow Empire enter the Imperial City. He definitely isn't a traitor. This guy was really cunning, and because he was shameless, he could say things that others would not be able to say. In order to save the Phoenix Cry army, he had used both kindness and power. Not only did he use the Emperor Lord to threaten Ling Xiao, but he also showed the intention of reconciling. Misunderstanding. Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. I don't think there is any misunderstanding here. I, Ling Xiao, am also a military governor appointed by the Emperor Lord, and I have outstanding military achievements. Today, when I returned to the Imperial City, I was attacked by a shameless person. I believe that even if I kill him, the Emperor Lord will forgive me. He was not afraid of angering the Emperor Lord at all. He wanted to establish his power. Anyway, the Emperor Lord already wanted him dead. So what was there to be afraid of? Only by showing enough strength would the other party be afraid of him. Truly afraid of him. Ling Xiao, you have to think clearly about the consequences once you make a move. Jia Lin shouted angrily. Ling Xiao looked at him disdainfully and did not continue to talk nonsense with him. Instead, he looked at the Phoenix Cry army and asked, "Who told you to attack me?" It was General Jia Lin. With the sharp sword at his throat, the Phoenix Cry army was scared out of their wits and dragged Jia Lin into the water. Is he telling the truth? Ling Xiao looked at Jia Lin and asked. That's right, Ling Xiao. You led the rebel army to besiege the imperial city. Not to mention shooting arrows. Even killing you would not be a problem. Jia Lin saw that he could not convince Ling Xiao and did not intend to convince him. In any case, in his opinion, with his strength, killing Ling Xiao was as easy as flipping his hand. It's good that you admit it. Ling Xiao smiled and sent out his sword, piercing the throat of the Phoenix Cry army soldier on the spot. Facing someone who wanted to kill him, Ling Xiao would not show mercy. So what if the Phoenix Cry army soldier was from the Ice Phoenix clan? He, Ling Xiao, was not afraid. Since he dared to return to the imperial city today, he was naturally prepared to fight to the death. You're crazy. You really dare to kill him. Jia Lin was stunned for a moment and shouted, "Doesn't he deserve to die for obstructing and killing a meritorious official? Not only is killing him not a crime, but it's also meritorious." Ling Xiao looked at Jia Lin disdainfully and said, "In addition, you allowed him to shoot arrows, so you also deserve to die. However, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you now. Open the city gates, and I can let bygones be bygones." Killing the Phoenix Cry army soldier was easy, but killing Jia Lin was a little troublesome. At the very least, he was definitely not Jia Lin's match and would have to trouble the Moon Maiden or Scorpion Lee. Today, his purpose of returning to the imperial city was not to seek revenge, but to save people. If he could save Ji Ning and the others, it was not a big deal for him to suffer some grievances. However, Jia Lin was courting death. Ha, let bygones be bygones? Who do you think you are? Jia Lin laughed out loud. Son, haven't you always wanted to kill this kid? Today, I'll give you this opportunity. Kill him and bring his head to the emperor to ask for a reward. Thank you, father. Jia Yin revealed a sinister smile. He really wanted to kill Ling Xiao even in his dreams. In the Lingyu courtyard, in the imperial city barracks, and even in the northern desert city, Ling Xiao had made a fool of him time and time again, causing him to be ridiculed time and time again. In his heart, he hated Ling Xiao to the core. Moreover, he knew in his heart that Ling Xiao was too aggressive, and the emperor did not like him at all. If he killed Ling Xiao, the emperor would only be happy and would not be harsh. You want to kill me? Ling Xiao was suddenly amused. It was as if he had heard a very funny joke. Why? Do you really think you are invincible? Do you really think those 3 women can charge up the city walls? Jia Yin looked at Ling Xiao disdainfully and said, I don't have to do anything, and you will die without a burial ground. Men, capture this traitor. Chapter 1100. Yes. With Jia Yin's order, a few martial artists immediately surrounded Ling Xiao. I'll only say it once. There are some things that you don't know, so I can let bygones be bygones. But if anyone dares to attack again, I, Ling Xiao, will definitely kill them. Ling Xiao's voice was cold and cruel. What an arrogant brat. Do you really think of yourself as a hero? Not to mention that it's impossible for you to kill Timur Mutu. Even if it's true, a lowly human like you doesn't have the qualifications to become the hero of Divine Phoenix Empire. Jia Yin said disdainfully, All of you attack! Yes, sir. 4 people pounced towards Ling Xiao from 4 directions, trying to show their loyalty in front of Jia Yin. I've said it before, whoever dares to attack again, kill without mercy. Ling Xiao waved his hand coldly, and 4 scarlet sun-alls flew through the air. The 4 martial artists' bodies exploded in midair, and a rain of flesh and blood spilled all over the ground. How could this be? This brat is too overbearing, too arrogant. He actually dared to attack. The martial artists on the city wall were all shocked. They originally thought that Ling Xiao was just scaring them, but who knew that Ling Xiao's attack was really fatal? Moreover, it was extremely vicious and merciless. Jia Yin, I've already given you many chances, but you refused to cherish them. Today you must die and no one can save you. Ling Xiao knew that he had to make a move. If he didn't show his might, no one would listen to him, and no one would be afraid of him. Stop him! Quick, stop him! Jia Yin was afraid. The 4 martial artists that Ling Xiao easily killed were all outstanding martial artists in the army, with the cultivation of 8 desolate heaven. That kind of thing, he simply couldn't do it. This is impossible. Why? Why is the gap between him and me even greater when I've already broken through to the 9th heavenly layer? Jia Yin retreated while shaking his head and muttering to himself. He didn't believe that this was true. He had always wanted to kill Ling Xiao after breaking through, but when he broke through, he discovered that someone else was actually stronger than him. This kind of result was simply unacceptable to him. Scram! Ling Xiao was like a tyrannical monster. Anyone who came within 2 to 3 meters of him would be burned by the blazing light. Then their entire body would be set on fire, and they would scream endlessly. Someone was scared. Someone had retreated. This was because they felt that there was no need for them to clash head-on with Ling Xiao for Jia Yin. There was no need for them to joke around with their lives. Get out of the way. This general will punish this traitor personally. Jia Lin was furious. This Ling Xiao was much stronger than he had imagined. If he didn't get rid of him as soon as possible, he would definitely become a huge threat in the future. General Jia, please don't interfere in the battle between the younger generation. No idea when Feng Qingyan actually appeared on the city wall. He was the witness of this trip to the northern desert. He knew everything, but when he was alone there was nothing he could do. The Fiery Phoenix tribe couldn't provide any valid evidence. Unless they fought with the Ice Phoenix tribe, they wouldn't be able to save Jining. However, the Fire Phoenix tribe would not do that for Ling Xiao. Feng Qingyan knew this, and he felt very guilty. But this didn't stop him from helping. After personally experiencing the tragic scene of tens of thousands of soldiers being killed by his own people, Feng Qingyan didn't mind even if he was chased out of the Fire Phoenix tribe. However, he couldn't do anything by himself. So he had been waiting. He believed that Ling Xiao wouldn't die. If Ling Xiao could turn the tide of a shocking battle with over 30,000 people, then he would definitely be able to solve the current problem. Although waiting was tiring, Ling Xiao finally returned to the Imperial City. In the Imperial City, many people immediately knew about Ling Xiao's return. However, some people didn't dare to interfere. Some people silently agreed to let Jia Lin and the Phoenix tribe deal with Ling Xiao. However, Feng Qingyan didn't care. Feng Qingyan, what are you trying to do? Jia Lin was stopped by Feng Qingyan and couldn't attack at all. After all, in terms of strength, he wasn't as strong as Feng Qingyan. General Jia Lin, why do you ask when you already know the answer? I personally experienced that battle. Naturally, I know that Jining and Ling Xiao aren't traitors. They are heroes. If you let them go now, it's not too late. Feng Qingyan said indifferently, Rebellion. Everyone is rebelling. Jia Lin was furious. Impossible. Ling Xiao must die today. He didn't know that his words had decided the tragic fate of his son, Jia Yun. If he had listened to Feng Qingyan and opened the city gates, Ling Xiao wouldn't have killed Jia Yun. However, he didn't do that. Without any obstruction, Ling Xiao had an easier time dealing with Jia Yin than dealing with the Phoenix tribe. The Righteous Alliance's young lord, the son of the Imperial City's commander. But at this moment, Ling Xiao raised him above his head with one hand. Jia Yin resisted with all his might, but the heavenly origin energy in his body seemed to be restrained by something. He couldn't use it at all. No matter what he did, he couldn't move it at all. "Save me, father." Jia Yin finally broke down. No more pride. No more arrogance. He no longer had the arrogance of someone high up in the air. At this moment, he was only filled with fear and terror. "Ling Xiao, if you dare to touch my son, I will make sure you die without a burial ground. Not only will you die, everyone around you will die too." In a moment of desperation, Jia Lin made another mistake. He actually used a threatening tone to shout at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao sneered and looked at Jia Lin mockingly. Then he shouted, "Everyone listen up. Jia Yin tried to murder a meritorious subject of the divine Phoenix Empire. Today, I, the military governor, will execute him here." His roar resounded through the clouds. He didn't believe that the people in the city couldn't hear him. He wanted to see if anyone would step forward and get involved in this mess under such circumstances. After saying that, he threw Ling Xiao down the city wall with all his might. If a normal martial artist fell down like this, it wouldn't be a problem. After all, although the city wall was high, a martial artist's body was stronger, especially when Jia Yin was already at the early stage of the ninth heaven. But at this moment, Jia Yin's heavenly origin energy was restrained by Ling Xiao. In other words, Jia Yin was no different from an ordinary person. Pa! Jia Yin's body collided with the ground. Then, as if a dye shop had opened, red, yellow, and green all came out. At this moment, silence. It was strangely quiet. Everyone could feel Ling Xiao's arrogance and domineering attitude. He dared to kill an imperial uncle in the imperial city, then kill Jia Yin in front of Jia Lin, and kill the young lord of the righteous alliance. Only a madman would do such a thing. Even Feng Qingyan was surprised. Ling Xiao's actions were beyond his expectations. Earlier, he had only stopped Jia Lin and didn't attack because he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Because the bigger the matter, the harder it would be to clean it up. If things went wrong, even a meritorious deed might turn into a crime. But Ling Xiao didn't seem to care at all. Below the city wall, there was only a pile of minced meat. And just a moment ago, this was still a living Jia Yin. This scene was simply a ghastly sight. The people on the city wall only needed to glance down to see the fate of that trash. He was smashed to pieces like a worm. Chapter 1101. Everyone should know how furious Ling Xiao was, because Ling Xiao would not normally kill so viciously. Jia Lin looked at the incomplete corpse and his entire body trembled. He even knelt on the ground and fell limply to the ground. Son. He only had this one son, and he had raised this son to inherit the position of patriarch of the Jia clan. And the patriarch of the Jia clan was very likely to be the future lord of the righteous alliance. Gone just like that? Aya, Ling Xiao, I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you. No matter where you run to, I'll tear your body into 10,000 pieces. I'll do as I say. Crazy. Jia Lin was truly on the verge of going crazy. He roared and bellowed like an injured tiger. Angry? When you surrounded and attacked those more than 100,000 soldiers, when you treated them like beasts and shot them down, did you ever think about what would happen to their families? When you ordered the Phoenix Cry army to fire arrows, did you ever think about what would happen to my family if I died? When you escorted Ji Ning back to the imperial city for trial, did you ever think about how the soldiers of Northern Desert City would survive if they lost Ji Ning? You didn't. You never thought about it. Now that your son is dead, you can't restrain your anger? You should rejoice that you are still alive. How can your lowly lives compare to my son's? You bunch of lowly commoners. Jia Lin roared with all his might. Is that so? Then I'll have to trouble a noble like you to open the city gates for us lowly commoners. Ling Xiao couldn't be bothered to waste words with this idiot. This person's mind was filled with nobility, while others were lowly. His own life was precious, while others' lives were worthless. What was the point of wasting words with this sort of person? Open the gates? You still want to open the gates? Ha 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 ha. After killing my son, you still want me to open the gates for you? Jia Lin couldn't help but reveal a savage expression. You killed the 9 Gates Inspector, the Phoenix Cry Army, and Deputy Inspector Jia Yin. And you also killed several hundred city guards. Ling Xiao, do you know your crimes? Even now, you still want to fabricate a crime for me. Ling Xiao could not help but smile. Jia Lin was indeed a sly old fox. Even in such a situation where he was about to go crazy, he was still able to maintain a trace of clarity and did not completely lose his mind. This old fox probably knew that if he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, he needed a good reason to do so. In any case, if you want to pin a crime on someone, you can always find a pretext. As long as he was willing, he could find Ling Xiao's crime. This was not a difficult task at all. Am I wrong? Jia Lin sneered. I didn't kill the 9 Gates Inspector or Deputy Inspector. I only killed the traitors who tried to stop me from meeting the Emperor and tried to kill me. I'm afraid General Jia doesn't know that I have the authority to act as the overseer. In other words, I can act first and report later. Ling Xiao's voice remained indifferent. If General Jia is unwilling to open the city gates, then I'll have no choice but to hand you over as well. It seems that there is nothing to talk about. Xieli, kill him. Ling Xiao said indifferently. His voice was so calm that it was as if he was doing an extremely ordinary thing. He had already given Jarlin many chances. Unfortunately, this person did not cherish them. Yes, sir. Xieli did not waste time talking nonsense. After hearing Ling Xiao's words, he immediately pounced on Jia Lin. At first, Jia Lin did not care about Xieli. When Xieli approached him, he felt the terrifying murderous intent that erupted from him. Thief, what are you trying to do? You even want to kill the commander of the Imperial City Barracks? Jia Lin shouted loudly. Everyone has the right to kill rebels and traitors. I'll take it as cleaning up the traitors on behalf of the Divine Phoenix Empire. As Ling Xiao's voice sounded, Jia Lin's body flew backward. It was not that he wanted to fly. Instead, he was sent flying by Xia Li's slap. Cold Plum, open the gate. Ling Xiao ignored Jia Lin and ordered Cold Plum to open the city gates. I'll go and help too. Although Feng Qingyan was unwilling to deal with Jia Lin, he was very willing to open the city gates. Thank you. Ling Xiao nodded in acknowledgement. Feng Qingyan had already given him a lot of face by not stopping his actions. He was a person who knew how to act shamelessly. Jia Lin's screams rang out one after another on the city gate tower. This scene left the soldiers guarding the city dumbfounded. None of them dared to go up and help. Jia Lin was a top Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. If the other party could casually play with an expert of this level like a toy, they would not even be able to kill him with a single finger. Once the Imperial City's arrays and arrays were broken, it would completely become a showdown between experts. Whichever side was stronger would have the absolute advantage. Therefore, these people could only watch helplessly as Jia Lin was tortured there. There was nothing they could do. You don't have to panic. This overseer already has evidence of Jia Lin and Jia Yun colluding with the Black Raven Empire. They stopped me this time because they don't want me to submit the evidence to the Empyrean Lord. You will be fine. The Phoenix Cry Army actually colluded with these 2 rebels to try to kill me. Naturally, their crimes are not punishable. Now, the Phoenix Cry Army has been executed. Jia Yun has also received his retribution. Next, I will capture Jia Lin alive and personally hand him over to the Emperor for punishment. Ling Xiao would not kill Jia Lin. Jia Lin knew many secrets. If he killed Jia Lin so easily, The ones who would be happy would definitely be Sikong-zun, Phoenix Cry-Chishan, and the Emperor. Young Master, Jia Lin's cultivation has been crippled. A moment later, Xieli came to report. Take him and follow me into the city. Remember, this trash is still useful. Don't let anyone kill him. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Yes. His long hair fluttered in the wind. His expression was cold as he killed the Phoenix Cry army and Jia Yin. However, this did not seem to be all that Ling Xiao had. People were surprised to find that the woman who had easily crippled Jia Lin actually called Ling Xiao young master. Moreover, her tone was filled with reverence. What was going on? What had Ling Xiao experienced during his training at the border? Many people were confused, but they were very clear about one thing. The current Ling Xiao was definitely not someone who could be provoked. They even had a feeling that Ji Ning might really have been wronged. Sikong-zun might also be unlucky this time. The city gate had been opened. The Northern Desert Army and the Scorpion Men tribe marched straight in. No one dared to stop them. This was because almost everyone believed that Ling Xiao was no less terrifying than the Emperor. This was not about strength. It was about power. But it was equally important. Was the Phoenix Cry army guilty? Was Jia Yin guilty? Was Jia Lin guilty? This was actually not important. Just like the Emperor could casually convict Ji Ning, LV Chenglong, and the others, Ling Xiao could also convict them. Sikong-zun said that Ling Xiao was a traitor? Then Ling Xiao would enter the imperial city today and kill the traitor Sikong-zun. In the world of martial artists, strength was respected. However, this strength could be divided into 2 points. First, one's own strength. Second, the strength of the helpers. Chapter 11:02. Perhaps Ling Xiao's own strength was not enough to turn the entire Divine Phoenix Empire upside down. But with the addition of Moon Maiden and Xieli, it was completely different. He would not feel embarrassed, because his enemy was not one person, but a group of people. Could it be that when the other party found help, he could not find help? He was not stupid. The army entered the city and left the city gate. However, that ghastly and bloody scene was still deeply engraved in everyone's heart. Who would have thought that the youth with delicate features could actually turn the situation around with his own strength, defeating the Black Crow army of more than 100 people with more than 30,000 people? What's more, he even brought Timur Muda's corpse. When they saw that the Phoenix Cry army was killed, Jia Yin was killed, even the moment Jia Lin was killed, their original suspicions completely disappeared. If Ling Xiao said that he killed Timur Mutu, then it was definitely not wrong. There was no need to doubt this. If Ling Xiao was only a young genius at the level of the 10 Great Phoenixes, then perhaps many people would be apprehensive, but definitely not afraid. After all, there were too many monstrous geniuses in the mystic world, but those who could truly live to become a giant were few and far between. Especially the young geniuses who showed off their abilities. They died very quickly. So for Ling Xiao, people were apprehensive of his potential, but they would not necessarily treat him as a mortal danger. But the problem was the 3 women by Ling Xiao's side. Moon Maiden, Xieli, Cold Plum. They were really too powerful. The combination of these 3 women was already enough to contend against the true Demon's Empire and Divine Phoenix Empire. This was the most terrifying thing about Ling Xiao. To be able to make these 3 women help him. This Ling Xiao was definitely more terrifying than any Yin-Yang realm expert. It was still that square. The place where Ling Xiao publicly killed the blood skeleton in the past. It was still a boiling cauldron of voices and people surging. However, today was not a martial arts competition, nor was it a battle arena. Instead, it was a grand execution ceremony. Ji Ning, LV Chenglong, Li Ruguang, Zhang Yufei, and Zhu Geming were locked in prison wagons with only their heads exposed. Traitor! Damn it! Shameless! Shameless! Die! All kinds of curses rose and fell. If it was just cursing, it would have been fine. On the way here, countless citizens of the imperial city greeted them with eggs, rotten vegetable leaves, and even stones. The 5 people who had their inner strength sealed were unable to resist at all. Everyone's face was very dirty, and the dirt was stained with blood. In order to protect the northern region, the 5 of them had been fighting on the battlefield for decades without complaining. But today they suddenly began to doubt themselves. Why did they do that? Look at the people they were protecting. No one was willing to believe them. These people treated them as enemies, as the most despicable bastards. Treat them in the most vicious and shameless way. They were bitterly disappointed. He was thoroughly disappointed. Perhaps the only thing that comforted them was that the citizens of the northern desert city did not betray them. This made them feel a little better. The 5 of them were rudely dragged out of the cage and brought to the high platform. They refused to kneel, so their knees were broken. They could not stand. The 5 people were stripped of their clothes, but there was no executioner, because this was not an ordinary execution. This was death by 1,000 cuts. The so-called commoners standing in the square each held a shiny knife in their hands. They looked at the 5 people angrily, wishing that they could cut off their flesh piece by piece right now. Public executions in the imperial city were usually carried out here. However, death by 1,000 cuts had never been carried out since the founding of the Divine Phoenix Empire. This was the suggestion of Zun. He expressed that such a heinous person must be punished in such a cruel way. This way, no one would dare to betray the empire. If I knew it, the northern desert city is so small. How could it not be conquered after such a long time? So it was Jining, this heinous criminal, who colluded with the Black Crow Empire. This kind of trash deserves to be tortured like this. That's right. I took the sharpest knife in the house today. I must cut off a piece of flesh from that Jining's face. I want to ask him face to face, who gave him the guts to betray the interests of the Divine Phoenix Empire. Don't be angry. In the end, that Jining is just a practitioner from the Sky Dragon continent. He's the same as that Ling Xiao. He's not someone from our Divine Phoenix Empire. No wonder he colluded with them. Most of the people in the crowd were criticizing Jining. Even if some people felt that something was wrong, and some felt that there was a problem with this crime, they did not dare to make a sound. In the past few days, there were already a few people who were killed because they spoke up for Jining and the others. Some of them were commoners, while others were officials of the imperial court. Now, at least in the imperial city, no one dared to stand out and say a word of justice. In the crowd, the soldiers of the Dark Thorn were all gnashing their teeth. They even bit their lips until they bled. When they heard such discussions, they really wanted to kill all these people. These people were even more hateful than the Zun. Jining spent the past 10 years protecting them. If not for Jining, the northern region would have been breached, and the imperial city would have been exposed to the iron hooves of the Black Crow Empire. Who knew how many of these people would have died? However, they believed the nonsense of those people without any evidence. They even deliberately fabricated some rumors, portraying Jining as a heinous devil. Endure it, we'll wait for boss to come. Even if they could not endure it, they had to endure it. They were soldiers. They had to wait until the last moment. What if boss doesn't make it in time? Make your move if you can. Killing 1 is enough. Killing 2 is a profit. As long as we can stall for time and don't let the great general be killed. Yes. On the other side, Feng Yinshan sat there with a gloomy expression. He did not expect that his opponent was not only Phoenix Kraichishan, but also that unfathomable monarch. And this monarch, in order to stabilize his imperial power, even wanted to kill someone like Jining. He admitted that he was not a good person. But as a crown prince, he knew how important Jining was to the Divine Phoenix Empire. He really wanted to save Jining. But in the Fire Phoenix clan, other than Feng Yanran and a few others who agreed, the rest were all against it. The reason was simple. There was no need to fight with the monarch for Jining. It was not worth it. But he really wasn't happy at all. As a crown prince, he did not even have the ability to save a person. Sometimes he felt that it was better for him to be a wanderer like Ling Xiao. Perhaps it was better and freer. Chapter 11:03. Beside Feng Yinshan, Feng Yanran was crying her eyes out. But he didn't know how to comfort her. If only Ling Xiao hadn't died. Then I would have been able to argue. Feng Yinshan wanted to fight back, but he needed some evidence and witnesses. If Ling Xiao came back, he would have a way. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao might not even be able to enter the imperial city. Sikong Zun looked at Jining and the others kneeling there and was in a good mood. He actually hoped that Ling Xiao could enter the imperial city. That way, he would have an excuse to kill him. But some people didn't want to cause trouble, so Ling Xiao had to die outside and become a lonely ghost. Forget it, a small Ling Xiao was insignificant. As long as he could kill Jining, his biggest problem would be solved. This way, the Divine Phoenix Empire would have no generals that could fight against the true Devil Empire. After destroying the remaining Northern Han, the Divine Phoenix Empire would be his next target. He was in a good mood. The stupid Divine Phoenix Emperor actually wanted to use him and the Yin-Yang Demon King to eliminate his enemies. On the surface, he was working for the Emperor, but in reality, he was working for the true Devil Empire. Looking at the gnashing teeth of the commoners, he smiled even more proudly. Suddenly, he stood up and walked in front of Jining. He stepped on Jining's head and sneered in a low voice. "How do you feel, great general? To be treated so mercilessly by the people you protect, and even die in the hands of these commoners. Do you feel especially angry and humiliated? Ha 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 ha. Pei, Sikong Zun. You will definitely die a horrible death." Although Jining was disappointed, he didn't give up because his efforts weren't betrayed by everyone. At least in the northern desert, there were more than 100,000 commoners and soldiers who were willing to follow him. Even if it was for those people, he wouldn't cry. He wanted to die in a dignified manner. He definitely wouldn't let the Sikong Zun be happy. Die a horrible death? Sikong Zun smiled and said, "You're the one who's going to die a horrible death now, Jining. Just wait for them to eat your flesh piece by piece. When that time comes, not only will you have to suffer great physical pain, but you'll also have to suffer great psychological pain." After he finished speaking, he stood up and fiercely stepped on Jining's head a few times. Then he loudly said, "Let's begin. Let the citizens come one by one. Ling Qi, this traitor who colluded with the enemy and caused the deaths of tens of thousands of Divine Phoenix soldiers. Sikong Zun, you lunatic. LV Chenglong cursed. LV Chenglong, you colluded with Jining and tried to kill this general. Don't worry, after they kill Jining, you will be next." Sikong Zun sneered at LV Chenglong. The few people present were all turtles in his jar. No one could escape from his hands. All he needed to do now was to sit there and enjoy the view happily. There was no need for him to be angry. "Ji Zhangran, is there a problem with you being the supervisor?" Sikong Zun suddenly looked at Ji Zhangran and asked, "No problem. I will do my best to ensure that Jining will be killed by 1,000 cuts." Ji Zhangran loudly said. This was a person who was good at currying favor. Because the Holy Emperor did not give him the status of the Holy Son, he betrayed his own country and his family. He colluded with the true Demon's Empire and caused the deaths of countless citizens and soldiers of the Holy Dynasty. And now he colluded with Sikong Zun and became one of the witnesses to testify against Jining and the others. There were also Wan Qiufeng, Jia Yun, and the others. They spouted nonsense in their testimonies and tried their best to smear Jining and the others. Especially Ling Xiao. They described him as a heinous traitor. Whatever Sikong Zun told them to say, they would say. If they were not told to say, they would not say anything. "Begin." Ji Zhangran excitedly waved the flag in his hand. To him, this was a supreme honor. He never thought that it might be a hot potato. No, it might even be something that could kill him. Rumble, rumble. the ground suddenly shook violently. The roar of the demon wolf came from not far away. The ground rose and fell rhythmically, which stunned everyone present. Ji Zhongran also forgot to wave the flag and looked at the smoke and dust on the road. Sikong Zun's mouth curved into a sneer. He's here, that kid is here. That's great. He was worried that he could not find a suitable reason to kill this kid. Who would have thought that this kid would come knocking on his door? The Northern Desert Army. The Northern Desert Army is here. Isn't Jia Lin guarding outside? How did they get in? Run for your lives. Chaos. The scene was completely chaotic. The common people were not as disciplined as the soldiers. Seeing the black mass of people rushing into the imperial city, they did not dare to stay any longer. They hurriedly scattered and ran for their lives. The square, which was originally packed with people, was suddenly left with a huge empty space. Boss is finally here. Hey, I told you that boss would not let us down. This time the general is saved. The members of the Dark Thorn were also wild with joy. Cousin, look, Ling Xiao, it's Ling Xiao. He actually entered the city. Feng Yanran cried tears of joy. General Jining is saved. He really is a guy who appears and disappears like a ghost. He's really too powerful. Feng Yanran, who was crying tears of joy, did not notice that Feng Yinshan's face showed a trace of displeasure. The dignified imperial city was actually so easily breached. If this was the army of the Black Crow Empire, what would they do? Although he was also happy about Ling Xiao's appearance, he did not like the 20,000 people behind Ling Xiao. Jining, what are you standing there for? Since those common people are useless, it's your turn. In front of Ling Xiao, cut this Jining alive. Sikong Zun calmly looked at Ji Zhongran and said, it was as if he was not surprised by this sudden situation at all, and was not nervous at all. This subordinate obeys. Ji Zhongran also recovered from his panic. So what if Ling Xiao came? Although he brought 20,000 people with him, these 20,000 people entering the imperial city were like sheep entering a tiger's den. One had to know that within the imperial city, just the number of garrison troops alone reached 100,000, not to mention the Bright Mirror Bureau and the imperial city guards. These added up to 150 to 60,000. If the imperial city guards came to rescue the king, then the number of people would reach 400,000 to 500,000. Ling Xiao was simply sending himself to death. How was he here to save people? What was he afraid of? Sneering at Ling Xiao in the distance, Ji Zhongran simply put away the flag and called for the nearby soldiers to approach Jining. I'll be the first, you guys follow behind. If anyone dares to retreat, I'll take his life. Although Ji Zhongran was a fox borrowing the tiger's might, in terms of strength he was indeed much stronger than most of the ordinary soldiers. These people really did not dare to follow his orders. Moreover, they were originally the Ice Phoenix clan's lackeys, so they were not afraid of Ling Xiao. At this moment, not only was Feng Yinshan present, but Phoenix Cry Qishan was also present. They had the backing of Phoenix Cry Qishan, Phoenix Cry Wushan, and Sikong Zun. Wasn't it just killing Jining? What was there to be afraid of? Chapter 1104. Ji Zhongran waved the weapon in his hand with a ferocious expression on his face as he chopped down at Jining's neck. Of course, he wasn't going to kill Jining with this strike. Since it was a death by 1,000 cuts, this strike had to make Jining feel incomparable pain without killing him. Ji Zhongran was a warrior, so of course he could do it. At this moment, LV Chenglong, who was kneeling beside Jining, suddenly screamed and pounced on Ji Zhongran with all his strength. He actually bit Ji Zhongran's hand with his own mouth. Ji Zhongran's long sword fell to the ground. He screamed in pain. Kill him for me." Ji Zhongran screamed and kicked LV Chenglong in the stomach. Although LV Chenglong's cultivation was much higher than his, he couldn't use his heavenly core force at this moment. Ji Zhongran's kick made LV Chenglong spit out blood. However, what was surprising was that although LV Chenglong's mouth was full of blood, he still bit Ji Zhongran's wrist as if he wanted to bite it off. Crack! Ah! Ji Zhongran screamed in pain as the sound of bones breaking rang out. Hurry up and kill him! Don't worry about death by 1,000 cuts. Just kill Jining by 1,000 cuts. At this moment, Ji Zhongran just wanted LV Chenglong to die. He screamed desperately, hating this lunatic. A group of soldiers rushed up and chopped at LV Chenglong's body. This strong man was bathed in blood, but his face still had a victorious smile. He saw that the Northern Desert Army was getting closer and closer. Jining was definitely not going to die. Allons! Jining struggled desperately and used his head to push the soldiers aside, but it was useless. His internal force had been sealed long ago, so he couldn't push the Sikong Zun's lackeys away. Brother, it's my fault. I shouldn't have let you attend that banquet. I shouldn't have trusted the Sikong Zun so easily. LV Chenglong, who was on the verge of death, shouted with the last of his strength. Stop it, stop it. Even if I didn't go that night, the Sikong Zun would still have thousands of ways to frame me. Jining had never blamed LV Chenglong. They used to be good brothers, and would always be good brothers. Although they had been separated for a very long time, their brotherly affection had never been broken. You bunch of animals. You will all die a horrible death. Jining could no longer remain calm. How could he not be angry when he saw his brother die in front of him? Hell my ass! Ji Zhongran kicked Jining to the ground. I thought you were some great general. You are now a piece of trash. Don't expect that Ling Xiao to save you. He can't even protect himself. As he spoke, he picked up the long saber with one hand and slashed down hard on LV Chenglong's body, who had already lost all signs of life. Bastard! 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 As he slashed, he roared. He wanted to chop LV Chenglong into meat paste. Only then would he be able to dispel the hatred in his heart. F***CK, your mother! In midair, an angry roar sounded. A figure like a ray of light crossed hundreds of meters in an instant and arrived beside Ji Zhongran. Ling Xiao! Sikong Zun was a little surprised. When did Ling Xiao become so fast? He was several times more terrifying than before. He couldn't even react in time. Traitor! I will kill you right now. Sikong Zun was only stunned for a moment. Then he pounced on Ling Xiao in an attempt to kill Ling Xiao on the spot. However, the moment he activated his internal energy, he felt an unprecedented chill all over his body. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. His original attack turned into an escape. He ran hundreds of meters away. He saw a woman as beautiful and otherworldly as a fairy. That woman just looked at him quietly. He felt a chill all over his body and didn't dare to move at all. Moon Maiden. Sikong Zun naturally recognized the Moon Maiden. How could he not know the top expert of the Sky Dragon continent? However, the Moon Maiden today seemed to be even more terrifying than before. Her aura was even above that of the Yin Yang Demon King. Ling Xiao didn't care about what he was thinking. The Golden Crow, sword in his hand, shook, and several soldiers who attacked LV Chenglong were cut into pieces on the spot. As for Ji Zhongran, he didn't kill him. If he let Ji Zhongran die so easily, how could he vent his grief and anger? LV Chenglong was also his comrade. He was the comrade who drove away the Black Crow Empire's army on the battlefield with him. Now he was tortured to death by a despicable and shameless person like Ji Zhongran. He swore that he would let Ji Zhongran taste the same pain. He would make everyone involved in LV Chenglong's death pay the price. Cieli, use the most painful poison in the world on him. Make him suffer a fate worse than death. Ling Xiao said coldly. Then he went to check on LV Chenglong's condition. Unfortunately, LV Chenglong's injuries were too severe. Even if he used the best elixirs on him to treat him, it only gave LV Chenglong a moment of life. Ling Xiao, good job! LV Chenglong glanced at Ling Xiao, then looked at Jining and said, Big brother, don't be sad. Everyone will die one day. Today, I saved your life. Even if I die, it's worth it. I only have one request now. Big brother, you must live well, because you're not only living for yourself, but also for me. Jining hugged LV Chenglong's blood-soaked body tightly and kept crying like a child. Men don't cry easily. It's only because they haven't been deeply hurt. A tough guy like Jining couldn't control his emotions at this moment. More than 10 years ago, when he didn't know Li Ruguang, Zhang Yufei, and Zhu Geming, LV Chenglong had followed him. The two of them went through fire and water and formed a deep friendship on the battlefield. What was the most important thing in the world? It was nothing more than the friendship between comrades. He was alive, but LV Chenglong was going to die. His grief was unimaginable. Ling Xiao stood there, his face gloomy. Zhongren groaned and screamed on the ground. His fingernails had scratched himself until he was drenched in blood. But even so, it was difficult to dispel the hatred in Ling Xiao's heart. The instigator of all this was the Sikong Zun. If the Sikong Zun didn't die, LV Chenglong probably wouldn't be able to rest in peace in the underworld. General LV, I will use the Sikong Zun as a blood sacrifice for you. Ling Xiao said word by word. His voice was bone-chilling, but it was so loud that everyone in the square could hear it clearly. Big brother, Ling Xiao, you must be careful. This country is more terrifying than you think. LV Chenglong took a deep breath. He could feel his life force rapidly fading away, and his soul was constantly dispersing. He knew that he wouldn't be able to live. Before he died, he had to tell Ling Xiao and Jining everything he knew. He gripped their shoulders tightly and used the last of his strength to finish what he wanted to say. Then he died with a smile on his face. Chapter 1105. Ah! Jining screamed at the sky. His angry voice pierced through the haze in the sky. Ling Xiao clenched his fists so hard that blood flowed from his hands. The rumbling of the war wolves finally stopped. More than 20,000 soldiers of the Northern Desert Army arrived at the square. Everyone's face was full of grief and indignation. Their clothes were ragged. Their armor was full of the enemy's blood. But their good general, LV Chenglong, was cruelly killed. It was in the imperial city of this country. It was in the residence of the emperor. Soon, the garrison of the imperial city began to move. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers surrounded the 20,000 soldiers of the Northern Desert Army and the Scorpion Men tribe. The city gate was closed. The people hid in their homes and peeped in fear. Was there going to be a fierce battle in the imperial city? They were scared. They were really scared. Many of them had humiliated Jining, LV Chenglong, and the others. They were afraid that the Northern Desert Army would take revenge on them. Although the Northern Desert Army was full of grief and indignation, they couldn't wait to kill the Sikong Zun. However, they were a team with iron-like discipline. They wouldn't act without orders. Everyone held their weapons and suppressed the pain in their hearts, waiting for Jining or Ling Xiao's orders. Ling Xiao was also very sad. He felt that he couldn't hold it in anymore. He really wanted to slaughter the city. This imperial city was too dirty. 90% of the people deserved to die. LV Chenglong was dead. Jining, Li Ruguang, Zhang Yufei, and Zhu Geming were all disabled. Not only were their legs broken, but they were either blinded or had their ears cut off. In short, none of them were intact. A wicked fire burned in Ling Xiao's body, almost burning his mind. The Moon Maiden stood there. Even she couldn't help but feel sad at this time. She had lived for too long and had seen too many similar things. But every time she encountered it, she still found it hard to accept. Dai Yuling, Dai Yaoling, Lan Yu. Take the generals and commanders to heal. Blood flowed from the corner of Ling Xiao's mouth with every word he said. It was too painful for him to endure. Faced with such a miserable situation, he really wanted to transform into a demon and go crazy for once. "Stop!" Sikong Zun suddenly roared. "Ling Xiao, what are you trying to do? You led the rebels of the Northern Desert Army into the Imperial City and tried to let Jining and the others go. Do you know that this is a capital offense?" He roared, but he still stood far away, because he was afraid of the Moon Lady. Death penalty? I'm just a hero who saved this country from the hands of the real rebels. What crime am I guilty of? Ling Xiao stared coldly at Sikong Zun. He wished he could slice off the man's flesh piece by piece and feed it to the dogs. "Who are you calling a traitor?" Sikong Zun asked coldly. "Of course it's you. Sikong Zun." Ling Xiao suddenly pointed at Sikong Zun and shouted harshly. What was going on? Many people were confused. Most of the guards of the Imperial City didn't know the truth, including the civilians. They were just following the crowd. They would believe whatever Sikong Zun said. In any case, no one dared to stand out and say that Sikong Zun's words were false. Feng Qingyan and Feng Yanran were forbidden to talk about this matter by the Fire Phoenix tribe. The survivors were basically the henchmen of the Ice Phoenix tribe, so they wouldn't say anything. Therefore, Sikong Zun's words became the truth. "Ling Xiao, do you think that people will believe you if you frame General Sikong like this? You've broken the law today. No one can save you." Wan Qiufeng, who had lost an arm, looked at Ling Xiao proudly and said, "Don't worry. After you die, I'll take good care of all your women." "Kill him," Ling Xiao said lightly. No one knew who he was talking to. But in the next moment, Wan Qiufeng's head was separated from his body. The person standing next to Wan Qiufeng was one of the members of the Dark Thorn. After killing Wan Qiufeng, he quickly disappeared into the crowd. This was the characteristic of the Dark Thorn. It was fine if they didn't attack, but once they did, they would definitely kill. Too domineering, too powerful. He actually dared to kill a meritorious person in front of the two princes and the great general. Ling Xiao was really arrogant. Ling Xiao just glanced at the corpse and didn't care about it anymore. The kind of dirty thing was like a smelly rat after it died. There was no need to pay attention to it. "Sikong Zun, you probably didn't expect that I chased after it for thousands of miles and brought back Timur Muda's head." Ling Xiao sneered and raised the head. "What? How could it be? Shocking. Unbelievable." The whole square was in an uproar again. "Someone check the head." Feng Yinshan gave the order at the right time. Someone had already gone to check the head in front of everyone. 15 minutes later. Reporting to the Crown Prince of the Hidden Mountains, "This is indeed Timur Muda's head. In the past, Timur Mudu fought with the Emperor and was injured. We collected some of his body fibers and compared them. It's completely the same. The person in charge of checking the head wasn't from the Ice Phoenix tribe or the Fire Phoenix tribe, but from the Bright Mirror Department. The Bright Mirror Department was directly responsible to the Emperor. Naturally, there was no problem with the results of their inspection. It really is Timur Muda's head. Ling Xiao, how did you do it?" Even though the truth was right in front of him, Feng Yinshan still found it hard to believe. It wasn't just him. The others also found it hard to believe. Reporting to the Crown Prince of the Hidden Mountains, this subordinate captured Tomohiko Kuma alive and lured Timur Mudu to attack the Scorpion Men tribe. He tried to seize the blood mirror of the Scorpion Men tribe to find Tomohiko Kuma's whereabouts. In the end, Timur Mudu fought with the Scorpion King and was seriously injured. This subordinate captured him. Most of what Ling Xiao said was true, but he didn't involve the Moon Maiden. In any case, other than the warriors of the Scorpion Men tribe, there were only people from the Dark Thorn, so no one would betray him. Whatever he said was true. No wonder. I've long heard that the Scorpion King is a Yin Yang realm expert and is on par with Timur Mutu. This is understandable. Feng Yinshan nodded. When the others heard this, they also nodded. They finally understood that Ling Xiao was a scammer. However, even if it was a scammer, being able to kill Timur Mutu and obtain his head was definitely a great merit. How could he be a traitor? Since Timur Mutu died in battle, there's no proof. Who knows if the Black Crow Empire is using a corpse to help you become their spy to gain sympathy and trust? Sikong Zun snorted coldly. Old dog Sikong, you really won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Ling Xiao sneered. He gently stroked the B-string and released Tomohiko Kuma. Tomohiko Kuma. Feng Yinshan and Feng Mingqishan stood up almost at the same time and shouted in surprise. They were all too familiar with Tomohiko Kuma. Chapter 1106. Feng Yinshan and Feng Mingqishan both recognized Tomohiko Kuma. This person was too familiar to them. They had fought several times before, and when the Black Crow Empire was still a vassal state of the Divine Phoenix Empire, Tomohiko Kuma had stayed here as a hostage for a long time. It was impossible for them not to know each other. Isn't that the little duke of the Black Crow Empire? I heard that he's the Black Crow Queen's most beloved son, and also Timur Muta's disciple. It can't be fake, right? Fake my ass. The two princes have recognized him, and you even suspect them? Oh my god, this Ling Xiao is too awesome. Not only did he take Timur Muta's head, he even captured Tomohiko Kuma alive. Hero! What a great hero! The people were even more shaken. They began to doubt Sikong Zun's words. On the other hand, Sikong Zun's expression was somewhat ugly. He really didn't expect that Timur Mutu would actually fall into the hands of Ling Xiao. He also didn't expect that Ling Xiao would actually capture Tomohiko Kuma alive. This time, the situation wasn't good. Sikong Zun, didn't you say that Ling Xiao betrayed the country and joined the Black Crow Empire? Don't tell me that the Black Crow Empire actually used the lives of Grand Preceptor Timur Mutu and Little Duke Tomohiko Kuma in exchange for Ling Xiao's life? Since Feng Yinshan had found an opportunity, he naturally wouldn't let it go so easily. He began to question Sikong Zun. Of all the people present, only Feng Mingqishan and him had the qualifications. The moment Feng Mingqishan saw Tomohiko Kuma appear, he turned around and left. Sikong Zun wasn't one of his people, so he didn't need to get involved in this mess for Sikong Zun. It seemed that this rumored tyrannical Ice Phoenix Crown Prince wasn't an impulsive person, nor was he an idiot. He wanted to watch Feng Yinshan fight with the monarch. That way he could sit back and reap the benefits. These people were all shrewd people. They knew very well when to do something and when not to do something. Feng Mingqishan wouldn't be a shield for the monarch. Sikong Zun's expression froze when he saw Feng Mingqishan leave. He kept saying that Ling Xiao had betrayed the country, but Ling Xiao came back with Timur Muta's head. He said that the dead didn't speak. However, Ling Xiao had captured Jiuma Jian alive. For a moment he was Zun. However, he was still an old fox. He smiled and said, Crown Prince Yinshan, I didn't know that Ling Xiao was pursuing the Black Crow army alone. I thought that he had betrayed the country like Jining. I was wrong about that. However, Ling Xiao led the Northern Desert Army into the Imperial City today, which is treason. He deserves the death penalty. Old dog Sikong, you're really shameless to a certain level. You actually still want me to die at this time? Ling Xiao said coldly. Sikong Zun said loudly, Military Governor Ling, you're wrong. I'm just stating facts. I'm not exaggerating. Do you dare say that you didn't kill Jiao Lin, the Phoenix Cry army, and Jia Yin and then barge into the Imperial City? Ha ha ha, you're stating facts. I said you're shameless. You're really shameless. However, old dog Sikong, it's useless to be shameless in front of ironclad evidence. No one can help you. I believe that the Emperor will give justice to those tens of thousands of dead souls. Ling Xiao was so angry that he laughed. His voice was full of hatred. However, his words were smart. It was tantamount to roasting the emperor. If the emperor couldn't do things impartially this time, no one would obey him in the future. After all, similar things had happened in the history of the Divine Phoenix Empire. Back then, the Dark Phoenix clan leader, who was sitting on the emperor's throne, attempted to wallow in the mire with traitors and harm the pillars of the empire. In the end, the Ice Phoenix clan and the Fire Phoenix clan joined forces to oust him from the throne. From then on, the Dark Phoenix clan lost the right to participate in the election. At that time, the current emperor also participated in the battle. He was very clear about the danger of being enemies with the army and people of the world. "The emperor has arrived!" A voice suddenly sounded in the square. The army surrounding the square naturally opened up a path for them. 2 palanquins, one in front and one behind, appeared in front of everyone under the protection of the Imperial Guards and the Mirror Department. A person came down from the first palanquin. It was the current emperor of the Divine Phoenix Empire, Feng Ming Wu Liang. Guarding beside Feng Ming Wu Liang was the commander of the Mirror Department, Feng Ming Dehai. Many people knew that these two were blood brothers. Moreover, they were twins. If not for Feng Ming Dehai's official robe and Feng Ming Wu Liang's dragon robe, many people would have mistaken them. Ling Xiao originally thought that the one who came out of the second palanquin would be the current imperial advisor. However, he was wrong. The one who came out of the second palanquin was a woman. She had a dignified appearance, graceful and luxurious, as if she was a flower queen who ruled over a group of flowers. "Jia Lin and Jia Yin were killed by you?" The woman directly passed by the emperor, Feng Ming Wu Liang, and came to a place more than 10 meters away from Ling Xiao. She asked with a cold and cruel voice. Although Ling Xiao didn't recognize this woman, he felt that she should be related to Jia Lin and Jia Yin, and the relationship wasn't shallow, because he actually felt that Jia Yin was 70% similar to this woman. "That's right." Ling Xiao nodded and said, "You actually didn't know? Wasn't this a trap deliberately designed by great General Sikong?" "Ling Xiao, what nonsense are you spouting?" "What trap?" Sikong Zun suddenly became anxious. "I'm spouting nonsense." "Then how did you know that I killed Jia Lin, Jia Yun, and the Phoenix Cry army? Could it be that you can predict?" Ling Xiao asked with a cold smile. Sikong Zun was speechless. Just now, because he wanted to punish Ling Xiao, he accidentally let it slip. He originally thought that Ling Xiao didn't notice. But who knew that this brat Ling Xiao was actually waiting for him here? He was really cunning to the extreme. That woman coldly glanced at Sikong Zun, seemingly with a murderous aura. But soon she looked at Ling Xiao and said, "I don't care whose trap or whose trap it is. You killed my husband and son, so you have to die." Feng Ming Wu Liang. This person not only led troops into the imperial city, but also killed the Nine Gates commander, the commander of the imperial city barracks, and the Nine Gates deputy commander. I don't need to say how he should be punished, right? This woman actually called the emperor by his name, as if she didn't care about the emperor at all. Feng Ming Wu Liang's expression was a little ugly, but this expression only appeared on his face for a moment and then quickly disappeared. He looked at Ling Xiao and said indifferently, "Ling Xiao, you killed those 3 people, which is indeed a capital offense, but I can give you a chance to explain yourself on account of your meritorious service." "Your Majesty, this person is a dog, biting whoever he catches." "Your Majesty, you can't give him the chance to frame a loyal subject. You must kill him. Only then can you convince the public. Otherwise, anyone can lead troops into the imperial city and the world will be in chaos." Sikong Zun hurriedly said loudly. Chapter 1107. Old Dog Sikong, are you scared? Ling Xiao suddenly asked loudly. "I'm scared? That's funny. What am I scared of?" Sikong-zun shrugged and pretended to be relaxed. Aren't you scared? You colluded with Tomohiko Kuma and Timur Mutu to set a trap and let Tomohiko Kuma's subordinate Fengjian to injure General Jining with a poisonous arrow. Then, you purposely instigated an internal conflict between the Northern Desert Army and the Expedition Army. After the Black Crow Army invaded, you ignored the safety of tens of thousands of soldiers and insisted on killing the Northern Desert Army on the battlefield. In the end, more than half of the Expedition Army was killed. After that, when the Black Crow Army attacked the Northern Desert Army, you shamelessly abandoned the army and escaped with a few of your lackeys. In the end, you caused Feng Qinyan and LV Chenglong to be arrested. The rest of the Expedition Army soldiers were also arrested. Could it be that what I said was not the truth? You want me to die because you're afraid that I'll show you the evidence. So you're scared. You're scared that the Emperor will let you be buried with the dead. These words were like a clap of thunder from the ninth heaven. Many people who had been kept in the dark were shocked to the extreme. This was completely different from what Sikong-zun said. According to Sikong-zun, it was Jining who colluded with the Black Crow Army to injure him and instigate an internal conflict that led to the deaths of tens of thousands of soldiers. Who was telling the truth here? What a load of nonsense. Your Majesty, are you going to listen to this traitor's nonsense? He just wants to frame me and create an opportunity for the Black Crow Empire to attack us. Sikong-zun roared. Although these were all true, Sikong-zun would never admit it. Once he admitted it, there would be no way for him to turn the situation around. I'm spouting nonsense. Haha, old dog Sikong, you must have proof since you said so, right? Then please produce evidence to prove that General Jining and I colluded with the Black Crow Empire to start the internal strife. If you can't produce any evidence, you can't escape the death penalty for harming the general based on your one-sided statement. Ling Xiao had evidence, so he wasn't afraid of Sikong-zun. Evidence? Of course I have evidence. Everyone present has seen it. You attacked the imperial city and killed several soldiers who were supervising the execution. You even colluded with the martial artists of the Scorpion tribe and poisoned Ji Changran. Isn't this the truth? Sikong-zun sneered. Bullshit! Before Sikong-zun could finish speaking, Ling Xiao interrupted him with a roar. He was truly furious. He was so angry that he couldn't be any angrier. Sikong-zun, you still have the nerve to bite people. Please tell me, when the soldiers of the Northern Desert Army shed their blood on the battlefield and defeated one. 2 million soldiers of the Black Crow Empire with their loyalty. When we finally won, where were you? You old dog, you escaped from the battlefield and returned to the imperial city, biting people like a mad dog. You accused Jining, LV Chenglong, Li Ruguang, Zhang Yufei, and Zhuge Ming of being traitors. I'd like to ask who gave you such power? Who do you represent? What right do you have to convict them? Do you have evidence? Do you have an imperial edict? Ling Xiao was certain that Sikong-zun couldn't produce any evidence or an imperial edict. Perhaps the emperor had tacitly approved of the capture of Jining and the others. But the emperor would never be so stupid as to issue such an imperial edict. He would only hint to Sikong-zun and the others to do so. Therefore, the current Sikong-zun could only suffer in silence, unable to voice out his bitterness. No matter what you say, it's useless. Today, we attacked the imperial city and killed the commanders of the imperial city barracks. This is an ironclad fact. You can't deny it no matter what. Sikong-zun knew that some things couldn't be explained clearly, so he didn't bother explaining. Instead, he seized on the fact that Ling Xiao had led an army to attack the imperial city. An ironclad fact? Haha. Ling Xiao suddenly laughed, and it was a very cold laugh. I chased after the enemy, took Timur Muta's head, and captured Jioma Jian alive. But along the way, I encountered countless people who wanted to kill me, and what they were wearing was precisely the armor of Divine Phoenix Empire. Don't tell me that you were the one who sent these people over. Was your goal to save Tomohiko Kuma? Or did you want to kill me and take the credit? Nonsense. Even if those people were wearing the armor of the divine Phoenix Empire, they could be people from the Black Crow Empire in disguise. You can't even recognize this point. To think that you're the military governor of the divine Phoenix Empire. Sikong Zun said coldly. Haha. Since that's the case, in order to successfully escort Tomohiko Kuma back to the Imperial City, I asked the warriors of the Northern Desert Army and the Scorpion Tribe to help. What's wrong with that? May I ask Great General Sikong, since entering the Imperial City, has the Northern Desert Army hurt a single person? Have they destroyed a single brick of the city? They were only entrusted by me to help me escort the prisoner. Not only are they innocent, they're even meritorious. You keep saying that they're rebels, that they want to rebel. Could it be that a great general is such a person who speaks without thinking? What's your goal? Could it be that you want to destroy the northern defenses of our divine Phoenix Empire before you're willing to give up? Ling Zhao's words were not only meticulous, they were also reasonable and had substance. Even if it was sophistry, Sikong Zun could not find any reason to refute it. With this, he had instead become a scoundrel who was framing a loyal person. He already knew that this guy's mouth was incomparably powerful, but he did not expect it to be this powerful. They didn't make a move? Then, who killed Commander Jia Lin and the others? Sikong Zun asked with a cold snort. He would not let go of the opportunity to slander Ling Xiao. The ones who killed them were me and my friends. In order to prevent the emperor from misunderstanding, I did not ask the Northern Desert Army to make a move. Ling Xiao said indifferently, Actually, even if they made a move, there was nothing wrong with it. I already explained the reason for entering the city, and even showed the token that the emperor and the Hidden Mountain Crown Prince bestowed upon me. However, the Phoenix Cry Army ordered to shoot arrows in an attempt to kill me. Let me ask, could I have resisted? Should this kind of person not be killed? Even so, we can still sit down and discuss this properly. Making a move should not be done. Sikong Zun said, Don't forget that I am still the military governor and have the authority to act according to the circumstances. I can act first and report later. I suspect that the Phoenix Cry Army is a spy from the Black Crow Army who is trying to save Tomohiko Kuma and steal Timur Muda's head. Otherwise, why would he insist on killing me? If he wants to kill me, I will naturally kill him. Could it be that you also think that the authority given by the Emperor and the Hidden Mountain Crown Prince is wrong? Even if the Phoenix Cry Army deserves to die, what about Jia Yun and Jia Lin? Sikong Zun asked again. After I killed the Phoenix Cry Army, explained the situation, and revealed my identity, Jia Lin and Jia Yun actually still wanted to kill me. Then may I ask, can I retaliate? Ling Xiao asked in return. Even if you retaliate, they do not deserve to die. Sikong Zun said coldly. Do not deserve to die? Ling Xiao suddenly laughed and said, Do you know that the two of them have already become accomplices of the Black Crow Empire? You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.